Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 490, recorded December 28, 2014. The best of 2014. This Week in Tech is brought to you by FreshBooks, the simple cloud accounting solution that helps millions of entrepreneurs and small business owners save time billing and get paid faster. Join over 5 million users running their business with ease. Try it free at freshbooks.com/twit. And by Squarespace. Squarespace just launched their newest version of the platform, Squarespace 7, with a completely redesigned interface, integrations with Getty Images and Google Apps, new templates, and an incredible feature called Cover Pages. Try the new Squarespace at squarespace.com. Enter the offer code TWIT at checkout to get 10% off. And by Audible.com. Sign up for the Platinum Plan and get 2 free books. Go to audible.com/twit2. And don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter. User ID audible_com. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll have many more happy holidays as you grow and protect your wealth with this award-winning financial app. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/twit. Well, ho, ho, ho! Leo Laporte here, your elf on the shelf for this year's Best of TWiT. Each and every year, we take the holiday week off, give our staff and producers some downtime, but we do make them work. We put together a Best of episode, and the most difficult one is always, of course, this one, This Week in Tech, because there's so many moments all year long in This Week in Tech. So many crazy moments, funny moments, powerful moments. It's hard to pick just a few, but I think have got for you, thanks to you and all the people who suggested their favorites, some great moments from 2014. So get yourself a cup of hot cocoa, settle in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Starting off with this discussion, watch out of Gamergate with Nilay Patel, John C. Dvorak. The sparks are about to fly.
What's happening in Gamergate is a conflation of gamers, like original hardcore gamers who see that as their identity, being mad at the criticism leveled at games for being sexist and too violent and not including women and being targeted at white men, being mad at that criticism, and then targeting their anger at that criticism towards the older problem of graft and corruption in gaming. Because the reality, and this is true, the reality is if I wanted to be corrupt about an independent games developer, like honestly, I would make no money, right? Like it would not be worth it to me to stake my publication's credibility on that. It wouldn't be, and I know that Polygon, again, my sister publication, I know the people who work there, not worth it to Chris Grant, the editor-in-chief of Polygon, to stake his credibility, his career, his publication on pushing forward Depression Quest.
All right, so this contention that the game press is biased or there's conflict of interest is probably bogus, but it has gone so beyond that the hashtag Gamergate means a whole lot more. And at this point, it seems to be, frankly, aimed at women.
It is absolutely aimed at women now. And it is aimed at the idea that women who are criticizing games or people
or anything, or just standing up and saying hello.
Or being alive, are somehow complicit in a massive conspiracy to shut down any number of crazy arguments. And most of those arguments have to do with things like men's rights. Most of those arguments have to do with things like where, like, I mean, it basically like boils down. Like, let me just give you a small sample of things that we dealt with this week at The Verge. We dealt with our writers being harassed on Twitter.
Yeah.
We dealt with a
massive harassment.
literally, and I'm not kidding, a neo-Nazi site writing about one of our writers' haircuts and saying her father should have beaten her with the back of her hand until her hair grew out. This did not have anything to do with video games. It just has to do with like what they thought about her, right? And some things she'd written about race and Ebola. What we are dealing with is basically the idea that people on the internet should not have standards about how they talk to other people. And what they're doing now is Gamergate is a movement has decided that the way that they will further their goals is by attacking our advertisers, which is fair because if you attack my economic interests, maybe I'll change my mind. But if your argument is that we don't have journalistic
that's a conflict
ethics,
of interest, isn't
right?
it?
Maybe. But if your argument is that I don't have journalistic ethics, and then your strategy is to attack my advertisers until I do what they want, then you have completely obviated your argument. And
you're assuming there's any logic in this kind of trolling at all. It has nothing to do with logic. It's whatever you can get away with. I feel sorry for Brianna Wu, a game developer who has literally been chased from her house with horrific threats. The police are investigating, and I suspect that the nature of these threats gives the police a foothold in pursuing it. Almost always it's coming from Twitter, and I have to point out that Twitter has become a true cesspool. Yep. And one of the problems that's happening is that Twitter has to continue its 25% monthly growth, or the stock market price will tumble, the whole house of cards will collapse. So they have zero incentive to take care of this stuff by, say, banning IP addresses, looking up the names.
Oh, I'm not buying that.
Oh, no, I promise you.
You tracked the people down that were giving you like 2-3 years ago. Didn't you find some guy in Fresno that was like...
find somebody. Yeah, I did. He was in Chicago as a kid.
Yeah.
But we needed warrants, subpoenas in Petaluma and Chicago. We needed the cooperation of local police here and in Chicago. Yeah. But
I thought you
tracked the kid by the way, because there's death threats here, this will happen with this particular situation with Brianna.
We hope so.
Well, one hopes, because the police also seem to be... You have to find cooperative police.
I saw a great tweet today, and I don't know where it came from, but it was basically this. It was, if you torrent a movie from Warner Brothers, there's a good chance you'll be arrested.
Much more likely.
Right? If you tell a woman on the internet that you will kill her or rape her, not like Twitter will tell you there's nothing you can do.
Right. And I think that Costello is a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. But I think Twitter and its board are, at this point, really culpable because they will not shut these accounts down.
Well, they don't make it hard. Accounts all the time.
Yeah,
Why
but
don't
it's
they
so
shut
easy
these
to create
down?
a new account. Well, that's the point. You can create a new account. And they don't shut it down effectively, which they could technologically, but they have no desire to do. In fact, they want people to create new accounts because that shows their growth.
But I would say so Twitter. I agree with you, Leo. I think Twitter is deeply culpable. I think all these platforms by which people can harass other people, we have to take a hard look in the mirror and decide, okay, well, the internet is interwoven into our lives. Like, how should we treat each other, and how should we punish people for treating each other badly, or deal with people that treating each other badly on these platforms?
Well,
but Twitter is a mob at this point. I think men have to stand up and say this is not acceptable.
How about? Can I ask a question here because I've been kind of triggered this thought. Right? I want to ask you, what specifically triggered this craziness? It just sounds like a non-story that just blew up for some unknown reason. I don't know what the reason is.
It's been blowing up for over 3 months. I mean, it's been building.
But it's been 3 months. But what triggered it?
In my opinion, because there has been a really ugly downward trend over the last year or two. And I think primarily thanks to Twitter and the fact that you cannot stop this stuff on Twitter. You could stop it on Google+. You could stop it on Facebook. You cannot stop it on Twitter. That's where it lives. And I have to say that the quality of conversation in the general internet world has really deteriorated.
It's always been crap.
Well, but it's yeah, I agree. It's never been great, but it's gotten worse and worse. And the ugly voices.
How bad can it get?
For a long time, I really thought that the publicity would promote civility, that the ugly voices would get pushed out, and it's going in the other direction at this point. I have to.
Let me answer John's question. Where it came from is basically two people and two pieces of content of media that were created. One is Anita Sarkeesian's Tropes versus Women on YouTube, where she literally just analyzed video games, like mass market video games, from a feminist perspective, which is her perspective, and pointed out that women in games are often used as sex objects, or the male gaze, which is when the author of a piece of work tends to look at women the way a man would look, is prevalent in video games. And you can watch these things and you can disagree with them, and I disagree with some of them in the same way that I read Jezebel every day and I disagree with Jezebel sometimes, right? They are topics worth discussing, and she presents them in a particularly strong way, which I think is great. So that is a thing that exists. The next thing is Zoe Quinn and the variety of games that she's made that have nothing to do with being video games, right? They have everything to do about telling stories in an interactive way. And the games press took both of these things and thought they were interesting. And the games press, I think over the past few years, and again, because I work at a company that runs Polygon, I think Polygon's mission is to take video games and talk about them as their art, right? Like the whole business model for Polygon is everybody plays video games now. Let's run a site for everybody. And so if you look at the way they talk about video games, they talk about them in a broad, encompassing way. And I think that's great. Again, I'm biased, right? They're my friends.
All I learned from that was that you read Jezebel every day.
I do.
Well,
I do, but
it's entertaining, I get to say.
I disagree with Jezebel all the time, but it's interesting to me as a person who wants to be disagreed with. Like I'm a fucking lawyer, right? I like to be argued with.
So what kind of a lawyer was this?
Well, one who apparently likes sexual intercourse. I don't know.
Apparently, yes.
Sorry.
All right.
I think it's gone so far beyond gaming and the gaming press.
I think it's crazy.
It is an eruption of trolling that is appalling.
But let me finish this. What you were seeing is that stuff compounded in the gaming press started to threaten an identity of being a gamer, an identity of being a young person who maybe felt that they existed in this other subculture. And identity politics is something that our culture understands, right? It's something that's easy to attack other people for not understanding your identity. It's easy to attack other people for being outside your identity. And what has actually happened in Gamergate is that the language and the tactics of the culture war and the identity politics that are toxic to our society have been foisted onto video games. So now what we're talking about is feminism. Now what we're talking about is straight up like, are you a gamer? Do you believe in what I believe in? And so the angry tweets I get are about things like, you're just supplicating yourself to the feminist agenda, when really what The Verge is talking about is, should women be better represented in video games? And so you can have these arguments. They are worth having. What should our art look like? Should our art include the category of things we traditionally call video games? I would argue that they should. But if you want to disagree with Roger Ebert, if you want to win the argument that video games should be considered art, you necessarily have to let other artists into the mix. You necessarily have to let other kinds of criticism into the mix. So when feminists critique Michael Bay movies, you don't get Gamergate. What you get is people being like, it's happening again, and then lots of people watching Michael Bay movies. When feminists critique Grand Theft Auto 5, what you get is Gamergate. And that is actually the problem. That's the whole circle of the problem, is that the people who believe that this is their identity and these publications belong to them are refusing to understand, and they're refusing to accept that circle should get wider. And again, I feel very strongly about this because it has been personally affecting to me over these past few weeks, and for my friends who work in video games journalism for the past 3 months. But I will tell you that this is the right side of the argument, and there is a wrong side, and the wrong side is being a dick to people on the internet.
I find when you go on an airplane, you got some guy with these big cans on, I think it looks stupid. You ever go to the airplane and some guy's got his little phone, he's playing music, he's got these huge cans on his head. You're one of them? You wearing big old, you too?
Biodynamics DT880s?
Yeah. Bro.
John, I love those biodynamics.
Just walk away from this conversation. Dude.
I think you're sitting at the wrong table.
Jeez, I'm at the wrong table for sure.
Just walk across the door and just open the door and then walk through the door and close the door and never look back. I'm telling you, this is a thing that we like. we don't understand as people who talk about consumer technology, because what we're actually talking about is fashion and personal expression. And those things they work on different levels than how we assume. What you are saying is, I hate people who wear baggy jeans. What you're saying is, I hate people who wear NFL t-shirts to the bar.
That's bullshit. Nobody's saying that.
No, it is absolutely the same. No, it is the same.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's actually the exact
I wear noise canceling headsets. I just don't like these big giant cans. This doesn't mean I don't like baggy pants, or I do like baggy pants. I resent that.
But no, you're saying it's the same category. You're wearing.
I didn't say anything about categories. You're full of shit.
No, you're saying I like this kind. I wear this thing, and I think those.
No.
Because they have this function, but these.
You're stereotyping.
Actually, though,
I'm not stereotyping at all.
You're stereotyping.
That you are saying I hate these people who wear cans.
I never said. I said I don't like going on an airplane and seeing a bunch of people with big cans.
Do you like people who wear saggy pants?
I just think
that's ridiculous.
I love saggy pants, especially on you, Leo.
That's all I'm saying. You are looking at people who are making stylistic decisions and fashion decisions.
Hey, so I can't say I don't like that. I have to agree that
he's making a fashion decision. But what you are...
Are you kidding me?
But you're making a decision. But the point, I think Nilay makes a good point, which is...
He's making a good point. He's calling me a racist.
No, he's not calling you anything. He's pointing out, and I think this is...
See, here's what I said. I said, walk through the door, close it, and don't look back.
Why? Because I'm a racist?
Keep looking at it.
You have a lot of nerve.
I do have a lot of nerve because I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay, that ends it.
Easy argument for me to win.
I do think, though, it's very interesting to watch companies, and Apple really is at the forefront of this. Technology companies realize that marketing is a very different business in the 2010s, and that it isn't really about speeds and feeds, bits and bytes. It's about style and fashion, and something that really has nothing to do with technology. Is that what you're saying, kind of, Nilay?
Absolutely. I think the technology is evaporated, right?
And John and I come from the speed and feed side of the fence.
Well, I mean,
I don't even know what that means.
I think the challenge right now, to go back to what you were saying before, Neil, is if they can't deliver, right? I mean, what Jennifer Lawrence is not going like, boy, I can't wait to use iPay. It's
no, that's
you know what
right.
I mean? Like there's
no, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of people that are looking at Apple and being like, okay, I downloaded iOS 8.
You think people
my
know
phone
that?
stopped.
I mean, really, that's the thing that style insulates you from is broken, bad technology. I mean, nobody's asserted that Beats headphones are great headphones. You wear them because they are Beats. So that's the advantage of this is it insulates you a little bit from crappy technology.
Let me tell you, nobody ever bought a pair of Beats, and then 2 days later were not able to make a phone call because they updated the firmware up their Beats. You know what I mean? Nobody took a bunch of selfies and then found out their selfies were showing up on 4chan. Nobody's looking at Beats and thinking like, gosh, can I trust my credit card here? And maybe nobody who bought an iPhone 6 is thinking that, but I suspect a lot of people are. If your technology fails in a way that cuts you off from your friends, your family, your business, then it may not be speeds and feeds, but it's bad for the fashion.
I agree.
Nobody wants to buy a pair of...
You guys are way away from the real issue here. You know what Beats are better than? Absolutely better than?
What?
The headphones that came with your phone.
Well, that's true.
They are.
Yeah.
Without question, they are light years better than that. Do you know what they also do? They prove that you have money to spend on a fashionable, well-marketed, and quite frankly, like cool-looking brand, right? Like they look cool to a lot of people, and they mean something to a lot of people.
But here's one thing I would bet. I bet Jennifer Lawrence is still using an iPhone.
I'm sure she is.
I would be almost guarantee you that. She certainly didn't switch to Android because of this.
You're collapsing a lot of things here. What I'm saying about like the privacy issues of iCloud and cloud services and Apple versus Google are deep. They are way deep
and way too
into
technical.
how people. They're not too technical. Look, let me put it to you this way. I run a big website, right? 1 million people a month read my website every single month. We do not put specs in our reviews. We don't put charts of performance in our reviews. We tell people what it's like to own this stuff and to be alive and to live in a culture of rapid technological change.
Yes.
Right? That's all we do. That's our thesis at The Verge. And everybody likes it, right? And our site is growing. And all that means is that we have to understand technology not as speeds and feeds and privacy issues and like very granular issues about how we're coding the stuff and where our passwords are going. We have to understand it as part of everyone's lifestyle. And to understand technology as part of a lifestyle means that we have to start accepting other people's choices in technology. It's not being objective, but as being very,
Yes, let's
very
stop
subjective.
being objective. This is the most arrogant thing you've said today.
Actually,
Yeah,
it's
true,
not,
though.
John. What
It's actually like super
He's the one who
tolerant.
said stop being objective. So you don't like the idea of having performance numbers or anything? Is that you, Patrick?
At some point, unless you're buying a 4K monitor or a WQHD monitor, it really doesn't matter at this point if you're spending much more than $200 on a GPU, right? And a lot of the people that are watching The Verge is creating an audience for people who are hungry for technology but are not looking for what Engadget or Gizmodo or Boy Genius Report or a lot of the traditional sites were. Where it's like they're going to talk about, okay, how many milliamp hours is on this? Is it going to last that long? What they are saying is, hey, we took this product, we went out, we tested it, and this is what it's did. And
By
a
the
lot
way,
of
I ran
Well, how do you
Engadget-
do that without some information?
Just pointing out, I did run Engadget for 4 years.
Yeah,
right?
no.
I have been in that crowd.
you-
I've been
you
deep
got
in
the
that
And
world.
you
jobs.
don't like that anymore.
No, but wait a minute. I think Neil is saying something very apt, and it's not Neil's fault, but the world has moved on from this notion of that it even matters. It's more about the feeling, the emotional connection you have to technology than whether it even works, which is, of course,
Seems
to you
more
and me,
important to
Patrick,
me.
and to John. It's stunning because we spent our entire careers talking about, does this better than that? Does this work better than that? And I think, Neil, I think you probably got your finger on the pulse of people as opposed to just, I mean, I noticed The Verge has gotten very much, it's very much more of a lifestyle brand than a technology brand, is it not?
I think you will see us move very hard towards being a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
And the reason you will see that, the thesis of our site, and it has been the thesis since we launched, is that we spent 4 years at Engadget, the core senior team that launched the site. We spent 4 years there covering the explosion of mobile. What's the screen going to look like? Are we going to do resistive or capacitive for touch? Are we going to do IPS LCD, or are we going to do TFT LCD? Are we going to do LTE, or are we going to keep upgrading 4G? I have been in those arguments. I've had at every level of depth with those conversations when we ran Engadget. And we arrived at a number of conclusions. And now all of us have a supercomputer in our pocket that's connected to a broadband network. And what is more interesting to think about is what happens now. How will the world change around the fact that all of us have a supercomputer in our pocket, and not so much what is the best supercomputer? And the people who focus deeply on what is the next supercomputer, or how big should the screen be, or what should the touch technology look like, they're going to fall behind, and they will always fall behind. And that is the conversation about, should you wear Bose noise canceling headphones or Beats? Because what you're really seeing is what people want to wear is good headphones that look cool.
And I completely understand that. I agree with you. I've had the same conversation with myself. We are not going to change. We're going to continue to do speeds and feeds and which technology is better. That's fine. We've never aimed for a mass audience, and for the audience that wants that kind of stuff, I think it's appropriate that such a thing exists. You're already doing 10 times better. You'll do 1,000 times better by targeting lifestyle. I'm not arguing with that. I think that's a sensible thing. If I were a business, I would be doing that, but I'm not. This is what I want to do.
It's too shallow.
This is what I want to do.
I don't think it should be encouraged.
But it's
it
also,
can be encouraged.
It's shallow.
You don't read GQ.
Why don't we just dumb down the public even more than they are already?
But The Verge,
Let's make everybody so they don't know.
First of all,
That's
The
just
Verge
now we're
isn't
condemning the
stupid.
public.
Wow. That's called starting things off with a bang. John C. Dvorak, Nilay Patel, and Patrick Norton. TWiT is often fiery, but it's always fun. And I think it's always a great place to learn and to see what's happening. We've got more great clips from this year on This Week in Tech. But first, a word from our friends at FreshBooks, the cloud accounting software designed from the ground up for entrepreneurs and small businesses. In fact, I can say with some certainty that FreshBooks is awesome because I used it for years. First discovered it about 10 years ago. In the intervening 10 years, more than 5 million people have used FreshBooks to run their business. I was running up to Canada, as you might remember, once a month for a week, and I had to bill the folks up in Canada for my time and my expenses. Used to do it by hand with Microsoft Word and Excel, and it was just the biggest pain, so much so that many's a month I just would forget and not invoice them. And they started to get angry when they'd get 3 or 4 months invoices all at once. So Amber MacArthur, in fact, told me about FreshBooks, and it saved my life. It started with FreshBooks invoicing. You set up an invoice, got your company logo, looks super pro. You can invoice by regular mail or email or both. That's what I would do. They handled the currency transition no problem. In fact, that's one of the great things about FreshBooks. Multiple currencies makes it very easy for you to invoice in the currency of your client. Of course, sending them by email meant I could put a Pay Me Now button, and FreshBooks has set up payment services with all the big payers, so it's very simple for your client to pay. That means they're more likely to pay right away. It's just easier for them. That's why I think FreshBooks users get paid on average of 5 days faster. They also, this one blows me away, on average, they double their revenue in the first 24 months of using FreshBooks. It kind of makes sense. FreshBooks means you are doing a better job running your business because you don't have to worry about the accounting. You don't have to worry about the expenses. You can actually take a picture of receipts with the FreshBooks apps on Android and iOS. Will make it very easy to do that. They'll even do time and hours. So if you bill for hours, there's a little button on the app. You just start the timer and stop the timer. If you're got a client that's slow to pay, they have automated late payment reminders. That really saves on the awkward emails and phone conversations, I got to tell you. I'm a big fan of FreshBooks. If you would like to try it, we've arranged a 30-day, no-obligation trial. Go to freshbooks.com/twit, freshbooks.com/twit. It is so simple, your accountant will love you too, because you can instantly access complete financial reports. It integrates beautifully with all your apps, including Google Apps, PayPal, Stripe, MailChimp, Fundbox, Zen Payroll. And if you ever need help, you'll talk to a real person every time. FreshBooks award-winning support is ready to help. Support is free forever. I love FreshBooks. So does Anthony Taylor. He's the CEO and Chief Strategist at SME Strategy. He says, quote, "I'm loving FreshBooks right now. I've been tracking all my time and costing our projects to track my productivity." You'll be a better business person when you use FreshBooks. I know I was. Try it free for 30 days with no obligation. Just go to freshbooks.com/twit. Just do me a favor. When they ask, how did you hear about us? Would you please write in This Week in Tech? And I will say thank you for doing that. freshbooks.com/twit. All right, continuing on with our best of 2014. Kevin Rose joined us, along with Liz Gaines of Recode, Patrick Béja, our favorite French podcaster. But Kevin was here the day or the week after he'd been picketed by folks who said that Google was responsible for raising rents and evictions in San Francisco. This is what Kevin thought about it.
I was so pissed off when I saw your Instagram post this morning. I couldn't believe it. This is not an April Fool's joke, right?
It is not a joke. Unfortunately, I wish it was.
So everybody probably knows there have been these protests in San Francisco. People there this week, a protester vomited on the Google or the Yahoo bus on it. not a rider, a protester. There've been all sorts of stuff. The feeling is, I guess, that the cost of living in San Francisco has just gone through the roof, particularly the cost of housing, because of rich yuppies from the Silicon Valley moving in, taking their fancy leather-clad Wi-Fi-enabled buses back and forth, and it's making it hard for San Franciscans to live. I got to point out the real reason for that is because San Francisco is landlocked. It's actually waterlocked, and it's a small region, and the rules the city has created on creating new housing are so prohibitive that just nobody's building housing. And that's what puts pressure on prices. Nevertheless, there have been these protests, and I'm sad to say Kevin specifically is now being targeted. So on your, can I show this? You put it up on...
Yeah, go for it. Share whatever you like.
TechCrunch had an article about it, but I saw it first on Instagram. Parasite! Happy face. Already I'm starting to think this guy's nuts, whoever put this
What's
up.
with the happy face?
This was how big is this banner?
That's just a handout. So that was just a little leaflet they were handing out to.
But there was also a big banner, right?
Yeah, they brought like a 10-foot banner that it took a few of them to hold it
in
up.
front of your house.
Yeah, in front of the house, and they were chanting like Kevin Rose is a douche, Kevin Rose parasite.
Oh my
like,
God, Kevin!
Stuff.
This makes me
was
so
that a lot
sad.
of people, or was it just?
Oh, there
two,
it is.
two
Yeah,
How about
weirdos?
that one? I'm a snip your balls. What is
Yeah,
wrong with these people? Oh my God! Anyway, let me read this, and I want to know what your take is on this. And I'm so saddened. Greetings, your neighbor, and then it gives your address. So they're publishing your address here. A man named Kevin Rose is a parasite. Perhaps not of you, but of us. This is why we are here, to reveal him for what he is. As a partner venture capitalist at Google Ventures, Kevin, you bad man, you, directs the flow of capital from Google into the tech startup bubble that is destroying San Francisco. The startups that he funds bring the swarms of young entrepreneurs that have ravaged. My God, you think they're like, what are they, eating the trees that have ravaged the landscapes of San Francisco and Oakland? Like locusts. With each, there's no more corn in San Francisco, and I ask you why? With each new tech corporation comes a wave of fresh techies who on average earn 4 times more than a normal service worker. We are the ones who serve them coffee, deliver them food, I'll skip the next one, watch their kids and mop their floors. Nearly all of them are just like Kevin Rose.
I mean, you got to say at least don't say what it was, but that one that you're skipping is a doozy.
We are I'm going to read it out loud. You could bleep me later. If you've got kids watching, cover their ears. We are the ones who serve them coffee, deliver them food, suck their cock. Really?
I never got that perk.
I'm wondering.
That's not something that's offered as a standard perk to startups. I can just tell you that right now.
Is that the end of it? You tweeted there was more, but I don't. Did they really complain about dignation?
They complained about dignation, and they were upset about a joke that I made many years ago.
Wait a minute, that's real? I thought you were being silly on Twitter.
They're being dead serious. They were just going through the internet and trying to find any like dirt that they could possibly find.
They mentioned dignation?
Yeah, I don't have the flyer here with me, but it said that it was like an awful show that ran for 6 years, is what I think what they said.
Oh my God. An awful show that ran for 6 years. Wow. What? So this must make you sick in your stomach. I mean, this is scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly. I wasn't home at the time actually, so they rang our doorbell. And Daria just went downstairs thinking it was like someone delivering something.
Oh, no.
And she opened the door and they handed her a flyer and she's like, what is this? And then they start chanting and yelling and she just kind of like closes the door and locks it and then calls me up. And I was down the street helping some buddies build a skate ramp, actually. And
you see? Ravaging San Francisco.
It was a skate ramp for a nonprofit too, actually, which was like kind of screwed up. But
I knew you were raw, bad man.
So I came home and I walked out and they recognized me and they walked up to me and they were like, hi Toaster. Toaster just got home. They basically walked up to me and they were just like started throwing, first it was like a lot of insults and then it was just like, how can you live with yourself and what you're doing all this bad for our city and do
you think they're crazy
or recording the entire thing on an Android phone? I'm like, do you guys realize you're on an Android phone? Like you should probably have an iPhone or something. That's Google stuff. And I asked them where they were going to post, and they said YouTube. And I'm like, do you not see the irony in all of this? Like, I'm serious. They did. They told me they were going to post on YouTube.
Well, YouTube
like,
because it's free bandwidth, man. And
the thing is, like, the thing that really gets me at the core is like I understand their frustrations.
You tweeted. I agree with them. We need to solve rising rents, keep the San Francisco culture, and crack down on landlords evicting people.
Way, though, like you don't throw up on people's buses. Like there's a conversation to be had here, but it's not by throwing rocks through windows. Throwing up on people's buses. I think that. Leo, you know how it is. When I was working for you at Tech TV, when I first got hired out in the Bay Area in the early 2000s, I remember my starting salary was $28,000 a year.
Yeah, you have
as a
worked.
production assistant.
You have earned everything every penny you've got. You've worked your way up.
It was hard to live.
You have humble.
In San Francisco.
Yeah, you know what it's like to live in San Francisco We paid you that little?
Yeah, and then I was pissed off because Dan Heward, I found out was making $30,000 a year. So I went to Paul and I said, "You give me a $2,000 raise, or I'm quitting."
I'm so sorry.
And then
They
he
were
gave me-
paying you that little. That's
I
horrible.
I just needed a job.
Tech
So it's
TV
like-
is ruining San Francisco. That's awful. No, but that's the point, is that, look, you were building a skate ramp for a nonprofit. This is not the Kevin Rose I know, obviously. And it doesn't even make sense. It's like, there are certainly issues, but their issues don't go back to Google or even startups or any of this. And I know you're sympathetic to that. I wonder if these people are crazy. Are they genuine, you think?
It's I think that their complaints are certainly founded in reality. Like, there are some really shady things going on here. Like, landlords are kicking out longtime tenants and then instantly jacking up the prices because they know they can get it with some of the tech folks that are making more. And so people are getting displaced. So that's frustrating. It's frustrating to a lot of people. So there are complaints to be had here and a conversation to be had. But I certainly don't think that Google and some of these other tech companies are necessarily at fault. I mean, yes, they are bringing in more tech workers, but I think that there's a lot of good being done here as well. I mean, I certainly know what we do at Google Ventures and funding tech companies, and Foundation Medicine is one of our big companies that is working on cures for cancer, and like we're trying to it's not just funding companies for the sake of funding companies. Like, there's a kind of a bigger mission here.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at, if you wanted to protest against the financial industry, I'll join you. There's lots of places you can complain. Google doesn't seem to be one of them, or any of the startup industry.
Have you gotten the sense, Kevin, that have you talking about this? Has that made anyone else say that this also happened to them, or is this just a random Kevin Rose targeting?
I know it has happened to a few other people. I don't know who those people are, but I saw something about someone left a comment on my Instagram post saying that it happened to them. And then I know that there was at least one other Googler that it happened to. There was
the self-driving car guy.
Okay. Yes.
Up, I think.
Right.
Are you going to hire a security guard? Are you concerned?
At this point, we have Google security on it. So, I've reached out to them. They have a pretty decent department there that handles this type of stuff. But there's no real concern here. My house is pretty locked down. I have cameras all over the place, and I've kind of created a little bunker here, so I'm not too worried about that. But it is obviously, it gets your stomach grumbling and you're a little tense and you're shaking. Scary. And of course, my wife Daria was spooked out by the whole thing, and it's you just don't know how far it's going to go. Right now, yes, I was able to sit down outside and actually have a conversation with these folks, and it wasn't aggressive. Like, they weren't here to throw rocks. They were upset and visibly upset, but they weren't I didn't feel at all like they were going to start a fight. And then the cops showed up, and then they just kind of ran. They took off.
I got to tell you, though, to be careful about mobs, because individual humans are fine, but when they get in a group, sometimes they will do things that they wouldn't do as individuals. So don't underestimate the risks to you when you go out and talk to them. I honor you. I would have done the same thing, but that can be dangerous because mobs will do stupid things. That's
true.
Have you and Daria maybe even thought about moving out of San Francisco?
No, we love it here. This is our home, and it's been our home for quite some time. I've been here since 2000 myself, so it's longer than any other place I've lived, and I consider it to be home. So. I think there's a lot of really positive, awesome things that are happening here in a bunch of different sectors. So I think that, this is certainly, for me, it's just something to pay attention to. And it's something that I think that, I saw Ron Conway at the Crunchies give a long talk about how the tech community in general has to come together to solve some of these problems. And I certainly believe that's the case. So, I would like to take part in that conversation and sit down with some folks that are willing to have a conversation that isn't aggressive. And hopefully that will happen. But, yeah, this is home, so we don't plan on moving anytime soon.
Mike Wilson, who wrote the book, The Difference Between God and Larry Ellison. God doesn't think he's Larry Ellison.
Classic.
That's the name of the book.
Very classic
that's
line.
Actually the name of the book. He says, you can give him titles or take away titles, but Larry will have a profound influence in that company for a while to come. Yeah. I doubt there's a founder with more power, even Mark Zuckerberg, than Larry has managed to retain.
Mark's pushed around by a bunch of people.
Is he? Larry only gets $1 in annual salary.
Oh, that's always annoys me. It's like a scam.
That's the Steve Jobs salary.
Yeah, it's like I get $1.
7 million shares of stock.
Yeah. That way you could avoid taxes. I'm telling you, I'm advocating wealth tax. Because if a wealth tax goes into play, these guys who keep saying they want to be taxed
only make
more,
a buck.
These guys, well, it doesn't make any difference with the wealth tax.
And
you
the
get taxed for
government
your wealth.
still takes half of it.
They don't take
Pisses
any
me
of
off.
it.
50 cents this year I paid in taxes.
No.
Ron Enderle says he's the highest paid person in the Valley. And that he thinks this is all stage managed to make investors who are mad at his, in fact, very high salary calm down. The big investor group says, Enderle, we're having a cow over how much he was making and how badly Oracle was doing.
Well, if Rob Enderle says it,
must be true.
Believe the opposite.
I think it's
No,
Rob Enderle.
Rob
It
is
is,
a
though.
good
There's
guy.
no
It says
Ron Enderle.
It says Ron here.
They're just trolling Rob Enderle now. They're just making him
Ron
Roy. It'll be
Enderle.
Roy Enderle soon.
Ron Enderle.
I think Rob's got a very good take on some of this stuff.
Really? Because
I'm
he's
sure
kind
you
of
do.
famous.
No,
for
he's famous
also-
for being quoted.
He's quotable. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got his lines open. He's got a phone. Every phone goes right to him. You can always get a hold of him. And he says, "What do you want to quote for?" That's how he answers the phone.
What do you want to quote for?
What do you want to
I'll
quote
give you a
for?
quote. Anything.
And then you say anything you want, and he got a zinger.
That's good. That's a good gig.
Yeah.
He started Oracle in 1977 with just $2,000
That's what he says.
in his pocket. Did he write the database, or did he just?
Not that I know of.
Does he? What is he? What is his skill set? He's a salesman.
He's Tony
Well,
Stark.
definitely a lot of sales skills.
Yeah.
And schmoozer.
He's a schmoozer.
Well,
Although he's the CTO, so he must
yeah, that
hopefully
doesn't
got
mean
some
anything.
technical
It's like Bill
chops.
Gates. It's questionable whether he knows anything how the database even works anymore.
Yeah. If anybody gets his brain in a jar, it'll be Larry Ellison. You know, like
Lots of
You see,
people
like
get their brains in a
Futurama.
jar.
The guy's going to be the president in 3000. It's the guy with the brain in a jar. Yeah, I got your brain here, Ellison. In a jar.
That is a strange way to compliment someone, Leo. Really, this is the strangest I've ever heard.
I don't know what I meant by that.
Yeah, that guy's a real jar brain guy, if you know what I mean.
If anybody gets his brain in a jar, I think I'm punchy still from staying up all night
Nice.
for the
Wow.
iPhone.
I had a repeater in my bedroom, which beamed down to the lower floors of the house.
When?
Recently.
Yeah.
It's still there. But I keep it turned off because I was having nightmares when it was on.
What were the frequencies?
Kenneth?
Ta-da. It was a gigahertz. It was 2.4 or 5 gigahertz.
It was both the 2.4 and the 5.
And it gave you nightmares. And when you turned it off, the nightmares abated.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Just saying. Just a tip for everybody out there that has a repeater near their head.
You think it really was causing nightmares? Or did Adam
You should just get a
No,
tinfoil
Adam didn't
nightcap.
even know this. This is the first time I've ever revealed this to anybody. I'm being quite honest and sincere here.
And so, what were the nightmares about?
I can't remember dreams very well.
But they were just, you had disturbed sleep.
Yes.
You were tossing and you were turning. And then the minute you turned it off,
Unplugged.
unplugged it,
Yeah.
it was fine.
Yeah.
You haven't had
John,
any-
you know, if you cover your head with tinfoil,
Yeah, no.
That
See, this is
probably
why I
wouldn't
don't
have
bring this
happened.
stuff up, even though it's a helpful hint for anybody out there.
Maybe you
But
had
no. Instead, I get
a
ridiculed.
guilty conscience.
I get ridiculed by the minions. It's ridiculous.
Maybe it was your years as a
tinfoil,
war criminal.
John, works every time.
Okay, I'm not going to. That's the end of my confessional.
No,
I'm not
no.
going to bring anything
I'm
like
not
this up
gonna-
again.
I have great PTSD meds.
Yeah,
We
bet.
should talk after.
Those things are bad for you.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
It's always fun when John C. Dvorak is on TWiT, but we have so many regular hosts, so many irregular hosts. TWiT is always an interesting stew, an interesting combination. We try really hard to make that special recipe, that special combination. Coming up, one of my favorite semi-regular guests, Jerry Pournelle, the great science fiction author, along with Father Robert and Jason Heiner. But first, I want to mention one of our great sponsors, a company that's been with us for many years. In fact, I think we started working with Squarespace practically when they had just started out. Anthony Casalena had written Squarespace's software in his dorm room to solve his own need for a great web platform. Today, they are the place to host your website. The best web hosting never goes down. You cannot bring it down. Combined with the best software to make really the best way, the best place for your presence on the web. You got to take a look at Squarespace 7. Their new templates are gorgeous, and it makes getting started with your unique web presence so much easier. It's got a completely redesigned interface, easier to navigate and operate. In fact, there's no more toggling between Site Manager and Preview mode. With Squarespace 7, you actually are live editing on a single screen. You can even preview to your designs. All of Squarespace templates are mobile responsive. That means they look great on any size screen, but you can actually see what your site's going to look like on a smaller device, on a smaller screen in their preview mode. So you'll see how your site will look on tablets or your mobile phone. They also include instant access to professional stock photography from Getty, instant branded email setup with Google Apps, and templates. This is new, designed for specific professions. For instance, architects, musicians, bands, chefs. If you're a band, take a look at the Horizon template. The Horizon template includes features that bands really appreciate, like tour dates, music player, and a merchandise store. They also have a great developer platform. Now, you don't have to be a JavaScript or CSS monkey to use Squarespace. That's the whole point, is anybody can use it. But if you are a developer, you're going to love the developer platform. It's the same tools that Squarespace uses for its own site design and code control. So this is incredibly well designed. They have e-commerce on every subscription plan, on every template. That means you have the ability not only to sell stuff online, but you can accept donations if you're a nonprofit or for a wedding registry or a school fund drive. Squarespace Help is live 24/7 right from their offices. That they don't outsource it. It's for people who actually work at Squarespace, plus their self-help articles and video workshops too. And all this for just $8 a month, including a free domain name if you sign up for a year. Squarespace. Try it right now. No credit card needed. Just click the Get Started button. You've got 2 weeks to take a look at the place, bang on the tires, really get a sense of what Squarespace can do for you. If you decide this is your new home on the web, make sure you use the offer code TWiT. You'll get 10% off. And of course, you'll be showing your support for the show, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Squarespace. Squarespace, start here, go anywhere. Squarespace.com. Use the offer code TWiT. Jerry Pornell, love him. Jason Heiner from Tech Republic, love him. Our own father, Robert Balaser, and I discussed the right to personal data on the internet. It all came out when Amazon let us know that their Silk browser kept everything.
Amazon has a browser, of course, in the Fire, the Silk browser. And he points out, Mike, again, we should have had Mike on the show today, actually. He points out that the browser is governed by Amazon's privacy policies, which are pretty upfront, saying, quote, "We receive and store any information you enter on our website or give us in any other way." And they say, if you don't like it, exit the browser and do not install, use, or access Amazon Silk. In other words, we're going to keep track of everything you do, and that's the way it is. If you don't like it, don't use this browser.
Well, that's pretty transparent.
But I don't...
And do you think Google doesn't do
No, of
that
course
and
Google
hasn't
does.
been doing it for years?
Yeah, of course Google has its own browser, Chrome. Why? Well, guess why?
And I doubt that Apple is throwing much data away about what you do. And
We now understand why Apple made Safari. It wasn't because we didn't have a good experience.
Well, it's a different society. 20 years ago, if someone had a case where they said, "Look, I have a right to have all these companies erase their data about me," we'd probably say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." You know, if it's your personal data, they have no right to it. We just had that right to be forgotten case, and people are looking at it going, "You don't have that right." You know, if you're on the internet, you're in a public space. You don't have the right to tell companies to get rid of the data that you left behind. And it just shows you we will accept this as long as you give me something shiny, Gmail, a better shopping experience.
Right.
I will take invasion of privacy as long as I don't think it's too invasive.
Well,
and that two-part shifts. What's too invasive will shift over the years.
I mean, it's funny because we have this conversation on nearly every TWiT. No matter who the panelists are, there's this clear sense that privacy does no longer exist. That Scott McNeely was right. He said privacy's over. There is no privacy. Get over it. And yet there is also this strong feeling we should try to fight for some semblance of privacy. And I don't know what the answer is. I generally come down on the side of I don't care. So what if Google or Amazon knows everything I do. What's the harm in that?
Depends on what kind of porn you watch.
You know what? Everybody watches porn. So what?
I only watch Christian porn.
Okay, good man. I'm sorry, not everybody, but many of. I think we're going to head to an age.
I'm sure Father has done his research into the sinfulness of mankind.
You have to research to know. I mean, seriously, this is groundbreaking stuff.
This is so bad. I don't want to go this way, but I do have to point out that one of in the Facebook world, the post-Facebook world, notice we have a president who admitted to inhaling. That the standards are changing. You're not going to be able to elect a president who hasn't smoked pot or hasn't surfed porn. You're not going to be able to hire an employee who hasn't got pictures of him drinking heavily on Facebook, because what will become apparent is everybody, except with the exception of Father Robert Bowser,
I don't do any of that.
Everybody does this, and so is that a bad thing? Maybe Dvorak always brings up I think it's the boogeyman of insurance companies finding out I'm eating too many donuts and refusing to insure me. I don't really worry about that so much. But
well, not only that, but under Obamacare, that's a pre-existing condition anyway.
So I'm safe. I'm protected. Thank you, President Obama.
So. Well, I think that part of it is the idea that we haven't seen it yet. The insurance company, I don't think this is necessarily a boogeyman thing. I think that's something to sort of be concerned about. Seriously.
Well, I think that if that starts happening, then in fact, legislation will probably do something about it.
It could, but it certainly could come into
Let's not assume
play.
There's going to be harm until it happens.
I agree. That's fair enough. I think it's just anticipating, that this could affect you getting a job.
Well, and the point is that it is too late. I mean, it's like but I think it's already. Jerry, is that your position? It's already too late.
I think that the time to have done this was 20 years ago when I wrote some columns about it and nobody paid a damn bit of attention to it.
You've given up. What was the threat 20 years ago?
This.
So this was early days of the internet. You could see it coming.
Well, before the internet.
Sure.
Remember back in 1980, what made me famous, if you can use that word, was that I said that by the year 2000, anybody in Western civilization would be able to get the answer to any question that actually had an answer.
That's true.
And
it happened.
Lo and behold, it happened by 1995, didn't it?
Thanks to Google.
Nicely done.
And Western civilization changed in 1990, about 1990, when the wall came down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now, except for China and North Korea and a few places that don't have any internet things, anybody in the world can get almost any answer to almost any question that has an answer. Well, questions like, when was Leo born and what did he have for dinner last night, are questions that have an answer.
But when did Leo?
Anybody who wants to know what you had for dinner last night could find out if they really wanted to know it.
Should we worry, though, and this is the right to be forgotten in Europe, but should we worry if somebody queries, how long was Leo's jail term for that rape conviction, and they find an incorrect answer? Then what is my recourse? I mean, not all the information's accurate, Jerry, as we well know.
I understand thoroughly.
We cover big data all the
then?
time on TWiT, on my network
I
show.
think that
it's always, the nightmare scenario is when big data goes wrong, because those correlations that it draws
does, inevitably.
isn't always right.
Yes.
So now what? Is it too?
Well,
we're screwed.
It's not too late. I think it's just expectations.
No, that's what legislatures are for, is to determine who is responsible when false data is disseminated. It is still, again, you can still collect for being libeled,
But see, that's the problem.
It's true that many of the people who libeled you don't have enough money to make it worth going after them.
But Jerry, that's the problem with false data and big data, because you're not disseminating any falsehoods. Big data is just based on disparate sets of information that are put through some sort of database. So there is no individual, there's no corporation that's making the assumption. They're just giving you a percentage of possibility based on the information it has.
Well, I'm not harmed by that. I am harmed if it comes up and says that I served 5 years for poisoning children when I was 35 years old or something.
Right. Well, what about this?
That's just a libelous statement.
Okay, so I'll give you an example.
That people my age and with my background have a 4% probability of having molested a kid at some point in time. There's nothing I can do about that. That may or may not be a true statement.
Right.
But if it says that I did it, that's an accusation and a lie, and I can do something about that.
Great quote in our chat room from Bruce Schneier. Web7 says, Bruce Schneier in 2006 wrote, quote, patterns we leave behind will be brought back to implicate us by whatever authority has now been focused upon our once private and innocent acts. We lose our individuality because everything we do is observable and recordable. I mean, I understand both sides of this argument. I really do. I've decided because I'm too lazy to do anything else just to buy the Amazon phone. You know, because it's cool and I want it. Are you both on LO?
LO is so stupid. It is such a moronic, stupid thing. It's who's going to use it?
Are you holding back, Nick?
I signed up. It's like it's literally. It looks like someone's art school, high school project.
I think it is. They say they're artists.
Yeah,
They
they're
are
not in
artists.
high school anymore. But
Here's the thing. Like it's not going to disrupt Facebook. Facebook has 1.3 billion users. I mean, Twitter can't disrupt Facebook, and they have 270 million users.
So let me tell you for folks who have not yet heard about LO. This is I'm on LO right now. It's invite only, by the way, but that hasn't stopped 40,000 people an hour from signing up in the last couple of days. That's what the founders say. 40,000 new users an hour.
Wow, that's so many. That's sarcasm.
Okay. Thank you for annotating.
Hashtag
LO. Okay, well here's the pitch. LO is ad-free. They wanted to make an anti-Facebook, a social network where they will never sell ads and they will never sell your information to advertisers. And the idea is that they'll monetize. And by the way, some people were upset when they found out, and it's not really clear in the LO manifesto, that they do, in fact, have almost $500,000 in venture funding, angel funding from a Vermont venture capital.
Vermont, so that's whole.
Well, it's Vermont. They're probably wearing
nice
earth
people
shoes.
giving
And,
out
yeah.
cash.
But as somebody pointed out, hey, if you get venture funding, somebody's going to want an exit. They're going to want you to monetize. The plan is that they will charge you small amounts of money, a couple of bucks here, a couple of bucks there, to add special features.
In-app purchases, basically.
I would love a Facebook that I paid $5 a month or whatever that didn't have ads. One of the things that's great about LO, they don't have edge rank. They don't decide what you see of your friends' posts. You see all of your friends' posts. I think this is a good idea.
It sounds like just like a site. I can't remember the name. Oh, Twitter.
No,
That's the
Twitter
name of it.
sucks.
Twitter sucks because of the at replies.
Twitter sucks because it's a broadcast medium that people try to have conversations in.
That's the problem. It's the conversations. Twitter doesn't suck itself. If you just look at the news feed or the Discover tab, when you look at the at replies, it's literally like it's just the comment threads on a news article. That's what sucks about Twitter.
Well, there's other issues too. 140 characters means people tend to be kind of cryptic, so you spend a lot of energy trying to understand what the hell is he talking about, and then you
agree.
It's like reading license plates.
You just do the P-Marka technique of just spamming everybody with.
Well, then that's the other problem. There's a lot of spam. And then the main problem I have is Twitter has yet to come up with a comprehensive way to block trolls and evildoers. And so it's just laced with...
Wait a second.
Let's go back.
Let's go back.
I want to rewind back to the LO thing. We're Twitter.
But then I want to have this Twitter conversation because we have the author of How to Be Twitter here. And no, wait a minute, that's the wrong book. Hatching Black. No, that's the wrong.
Yeah. No.
But anyway, Nick, if anybody would be able to defend Twitter, it'd be Nick Bilton.
But I'm not defending Twitter. I actually think that Twitter does have its issues. I think the at replies are literally the worst aspect of the platform. You cannot have a conversation in a one-to-many situation with 10 people or tens of thousands of people. And I think that aspect of it is completely and utterly broken. But I do still think that the 140 character sharing content, the real-time information, and the reason real-time works is because it's 140 characters. I think that is still completely
Hasn't
brilliant.
Twitter turned bitter? Wait a minute. Now we're having the Twitter conversation. Let's go back because Baratunde wanted to do LO. Then we'll do Twitter.
Okay. I'm going to do LO, then Oi, then what up.
Oi is the new LO, apparently.
So my reaction to the LO thing, a friend of mine on Facebook was talking about it, and I was just like, I hate new stuff. I'm just at that stage.
Well, that's just because he's old.
In my tech adoption, I was like, oh, it's new, it's probably dumb. I don't need it. I'm going to hate because it's not what I know. But I think the reaction that it grew out of, the sort of spirit of LO, is important. And this idea of their manifesto that users own their data, that they're trying to position you as making you aware, like reminding you that you are being productized by the platform companies that you could give all this stuff to. I think that's an important sort of idea contribution to the space. And they don't need to take down Facebook 40,000 an hour, 40,000 over a year. For those people, it might end up being very meaningful. And the idea that we have all sort of opted into by default, not all, but so many, 1 billion into Facebook, that defines what a social network is. I like from a creative perspective that there's some other people out there saying, no, it can also be this. So it doesn't need to be about taking down Facebook. There is some value to creating something different from Facebook for people for whom that matters.
Dude, Baratunde, I am so unfriending you on Ella right now. I am.
I don't care.
That's it. We're done.
I do think that when new social networks start, they have one advantage, which is that only the insiders use it, and we like each other, and then the real world comes, and then I have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're just constantly running from real people.
I'm just running from people.
No, here's the thing. I think I totally get it, but the reality is, we make a choice every single day to log into our Gmail and to all of these things and to our iPhone and to Instagram, and because we enjoy them and we have fun, even though we know we're being tracked, we know ads are being put against the things that we're writing, but yet we still do it. And I think that, like, do I truly believe that there's a privacy problem on the internet? Without a doubt. I have no question. I've written 1,000 articles on it, but I also think that the ship is already. What's that?
1,000 articles, really? Really?
On privacy, probably.
Go ahead, keep going, man.
But I actually do believe that the ship has sailed, and I think that so part of the reason that LO grew out of Facebook was because there were people that were transgender that weren't able to use their.
That's why it got a lot of attention lately. Is that Facebook has been, with its real names policy, making it very hard for LGBT people to have a place on Facebook, because they have, in many cases, real reasons not to use their real names.
Correct, but what happened was...
If you want to be Sister Mary Dunkin' Donuts on Facebook, you can't. Unless that's on your driver's license. Then you got much bigger problems.
So I completely agree, and that's what happened. And then what happened after that was a bunch of people went over there, and people from the LGBT society, the groups that went over there, there's no way to block people. So what started happening is you had all these haters that came on and started saying really negative and mean things, and then they couldn't use LO because there's no system to block people on there. So it kind of all backfired.
Oh, that's interesting.
That point in particular, that's another thing I'd love to get to. When you start, I think there's something that, as much as Leo, your gripes and even mine about Facebook, like, they are mature enough to be experimenting at a whole nother level.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And so, like, even the idea of a managed news feed, like, if they actually showed you everything, if you have 1,000 friends, say you have like friended people a lot over the years, it would be a horrible experience probably. So I give them credit.
User blocking
for trying.
They're going to put it's on their coming soon list. It's #1, and the next thing they want to do is user blocking.
So for a company like LO to enter this late into the game, what social networking mean, when we've all been trained that it comes with these features, that there's a reporting mechanism, that there's a way to filter, and to not have that from ground zero, like the starting line, I feel like has been moved forward.
Is it late in the game? Are we really at the beginning of the internet? Isn't this really the beginning? You guys are just jaded. It's not late in the game.
We're at the beginning of the internet, but we're not in the beginning of social networking.
Hell yeah! I mean, what makes you think that in 20 years Facebook or Twitter will even be around? You think that they're here to stay? It's done.
Absolutely.
If it is, then I'm depressed.
Yes,
but I think that
there will be other Facebooks and Twitters, but I guarantee you in 20 years, Facebook is still around, and if Twitter is still around, maybe it's part of Google or something like that. If it gets acquired eventually or something, but I
don't think that any incumbent can come along now. I'd agree with you. Nobody can be Google anymore, but that's more about a technical issue. It's hard to do an index of something that's growing as fast.
So here's okay. So,
but I think social networking. Look how fast MySpace got disintermediated, and look how much people hate Facebook. People use Facebook, but often they're not happy about it.
But we live in a world where we're dependent on them both. Right.
Yeah.
In the media, I hate going onto social networks, first thing in the morning and checking to see what nasty things people have said about me in my column and this, that, and the other. But I do it because that's how I share my content. I have no choice. It is the paper of today.
And if LO suddenly gets sufficient subscriber, you'll start visiting them. I mean, it's just a matter of critical mass. I don't know why they can't get critical mass or any other new network.
I think we're way too early. I think we're way too early for a statement like Facebook will definitely be around in 20 years to be taken as fact. Like that is, to me, I will bet against you on the show right now.
I think it'd be a safe bet. Go ahead. How much do you want to bet?
In the year 2034.
2034.
28th of September.
I will be dead. We can bet on that. Okay. What else?
Facebook.
Yeah.
And Nick says.
By the way, I'll be glad to be dead if Facebook's still around. I'll be looking at you from the grave going, God damn you guys. Couldn't you do better than this?
I would like to bet with you, Bartender, but there are rules at the New York Times, and apparently I will get in trouble.
But you know what? It doesn't matter. We know. We heard what
How
you
about
said.
this?
He pulled the New York Times card.
If I'm not working at the New York Times in 20 years, I will retroactively bet you a large amount of money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I just think, to Leo's point, like the speed at which we're moving, we technically, I don't even think, have the ability to imagine.
I agree.
Of what our world will look like. So the idea that a company called Facebook could be so adaptable to do like holographic burrito delivery or whatever becomes the thing.
If you look at the history of tech companies, they really do. Microsoft tried, IBM tried.
And they've lasted. Like Microsoft
and they last, but it's very hard to stay on the forefront. Yeah. And I think Google won't be on the forefront. I don't think Apple's already started to lose its edge. And I'd be very surprised. I mean, I'm not saying they'll be gone, but I'd be very surprised if Facebook is the dominant incumbent that it is today.
All right, let's continue on with our best of. In just a second, a big Supreme Court decision. But before we go on, I want to tell you a little bit about Audible.com. Audible! Oh, I love Audible. Audible books are audio books, 150,000 strong, all the big books. Every new book that comes out is available on Audible. They've even gone back in time to take a look at some of the great, for instance, sci-fi books or classics by Dickens and Jane Austen that were never recorded, and they've done their own recordings of them. They sound so good. Audible chooses the best readers. They bring these books to life. You're listening in the car, at work, at the gym, cleaning the house, walking the dog, but those books, it's as if you're almost watching a movie in your mind. They come to life. Fiction, nonfiction, Audible is the best place to get audiobooks. I want you to visit audible.com right now and sign up for their Platinum plan. You can get it free for the first 30 days, which is awesome. This is 2 books a month. It's a subscription, plus the daily digest of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. Audible has got so many great books. Having 2 books a month is nice because it gives you the chance to pick up 2 books. It makes it easier to decide. That's really the hardest thing for me. I visit Audible and I go, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. In fact, I've got 2 credits waiting for me right now, and I'm even with 2 credits having a hard time deciding. Audible is so fantastic. Please give it a try today. With 2 books, you can get a really good sense of whether Audible's right for you. Visit audible.com/twit2. It's free for the first 30 days. Cancel any time in those first 30 days. You'll pay absolutely nothing. But those books are yours to keep, and that's nice. Audible.com/twit and the number 2. We are big fans of audiobooks from Audible.com. I know you will be too. Please take advantage of this offer. If you haven't tried it yet, the holidays are a great time to curl up with a great audiobook from Audible.com. Just go to twit2 and you'll get it automatically. Audible.com/twit2. We thank Audible so much for their support all year long. In fact, for the last 6 years, 7 years, for a long time of This Week in Tech. News came out just this week in the United States that the Canadian Supreme Court had ruled that it was okay for Canadian police during a traffic stop, during an arrest, to look at your cell phone without a warrant. Fortunately, that's not the case in the United States. We discussed it with legal expert Denise Howell on this segment from this year's TWiT.
I think this is very good news for privacy in this country. Even if you have been arrested, the police still must seek, in most cases, a warrant before they can search your cell phone. And we know law enforcement actually has boxes they can plug into your phone and dump all the data off of it, and they do often routinely do that. But the Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that this is, you got to get a warrant. Is that good, Denise?
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yes.
Riley versus California is the case. Unanimous decision of the Supreme Court, which, you know, you get a lot of court watchers saying what that means and if it's really and truly unanimous, or if, as you suggest, Leo, they're just
wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. I'll trade you an Aereo for a cell phone. Right. Yeah.
Right. But yes, here we have the court actually really showing a good grasp of what new technologies mean and how they impact people's lives, and the difference between being able to search someone's pocket for a weapon or something else that might hurt an officer during an arrest, or something else that might be informationally important to the arrest, evidence that you could gather just by you know,
it's all on my phone.
Exactly. No, you're gonna find lots of evidence on somebody's phone, but it's gonna be stuff that not only could convict them, that is gonna be a lot of other stuff too.
So the case was a guy who was stopped for a traffic violation.
Mm-hmm.
They, I guess, must have, given the probable cause, seen weapons. He was arrested on weapons charges. The officer searching him seized a phone from his pants pocket. The officer accessed information on the phone, noticed the repeated use of a term associated with a street gang. At the police station 2 hours later, a detective specializing in gangs further examined the phone's contents. Based on photographs and videos, the detective found the state charged the petitioner in connection with a shooting that had occurred a few weeks earlier and sought an enhanced sentence based on gang membership. He was convicted, then appealed. California Court of Appeals affirmed, but the
California Supreme Court.
And the California Supreme Court, but not the United States Supreme Court. Unanimously, they said that was unlawful search and seizure. So what do we need to do now as citizens if we are stopped by the police and they say, "Can I have your phone?" Should we just say no?
Yeah, you could.
You smash
say,
it right in front of them.
I'll say, you know, in Riley versus the state of California,
smashing it, not
you
such a
eat
good
it.
idea.
You eat the phone.
You could have obstruction charges against you under those kinds of circumstances.
Don't do that either. Okay.
But yeah, without a warrant, they can't search your
Actually,
phone. So
if you've done something wrong, give them the phone. Let them say, "Oh, officer, no, you're not allowed to search that, but here," and then they throw the whole thing out of court. Chief Justice Roberts wrote, "Modern cell phones," I love this, "are not just another technological convenience. With all they contain and all they may reveal, they hold for many Americans the privacies of life. The fact that technology now allows an individual to carry this in his hand does not make the information any less worthy of protection." I love that. That's right on.
I also like how he said that the term cell phone itself is pretty much outdated, and that these are effectively cameras or journals or, you know, any sort of thing that should and is normally protected by law. And I thought that was a great point that he made as well.
So this is, according to the Daily Dot, this review reverses a 5 decades old interpretation of the law that allowed arresting officers to search suspects' pockets, phones, and anything else within his or her reach. So this is kind of new law.
Yes,
so
definitely.
wait, they are allowed
It's
to.
just not
They
the
were.
same as a pocket. Yeah, and they can still, you know, the seat of your car, your pocket. They can pat you down. You know, if the safety concern of the officers has always been behind, you can go ahead and do a search incident to arrest. But if you're going to search a cell phone, this decision says you're going to need to get a warrant, and law enforcement was not wild about this decision and fought it because they said, well, particularly in today's day and age, getting a warrant's not going to be effective because what if someone just, you've got Apple, they've got this great remote wipe, Android does it too. We're going to have our evidence destroyed. And the court, really showed a nice grasp, not only of the nature of the cell phone, but of how these things work in the decision. It talks about as to remote wiping, there are means to address that. First of all, you could turn the phone off. Then it can't be wiped. Bear that in mind, law enforcement officers. And also, you could use a Faraday bag. Would you ever have expected to see the word Faraday bag in a U.S. Supreme Court decision?
The fact that they know such a thing exists is awesome.
Isn't
Obviously,
that
it was some smart clerk, right, who wrote this decision.
Such devices are commonly called Faraday bags,
Wow.
after the English scientist Michael Faraday.
Ooh, even
They
a
are
history
essentially sandwich bags made of aluminum foil, cheap, lightweight, and easy to use. And to show you, then they cite the brief of the criminal law professors that was filed as an amicus brief. So they're reading their briefs and they know what this stuff is.
Or a clerk is, yes.
Yes. This may not be a complete answer to the problem, but at least for now, they provide a reasonable response. And they talk about that not only that law enforcement agencies know what Faraday bags are and use them and encourage officers to use them, but they talk about the fact that a warrant's a lot easier to get than it used to be too. And that
unfortunately.
And that a lot of law enforcement officers can talk, can rely on like a 15-minute electronic email response to a request for a warrant. So we're not talking about a whole lot of hoops that need to be jumped through here.
The Daily Dot says, in answer to the question, what should you do? Lock your phone with a passcode. If your phone is locked and or encrypted, according to the ACLU, the police may take your phone, may try to look at it unconstitutionally, but they won't be able to.
They can't force you to put your finger on the identification.
Yeah. If you forgot to lock your phone and don't feel like it, then calmly and respectfully, this'll work. Tell the officer his search is in violation of the Constitution under the court's Riley decision.
Yeah, I mean, that Daily Dot article has some great advice about saying, look, if you want to search my phone, you need a warrant for that. If they want to go ahead, though, and do it, that same article says, just go ahead and let them do it. You know what the law is. And,
but you should out loud state, I do not consent to this search, and make sure the witnesses hear it. I want to make this clear. I do not consent to this search, because then whatever they find is inadmissible.
I got a good question from someone on Twitter along these lines. His name was Mark Jones. And he was sort of keying into the fact that not only, do we keep everything on our cell phones, but we have things like boarding passes. And in his particular case, I guess, his insurance card for, showing that he has auto insurance on his cell phone. And asking, if you show that to an officer on your phone, are you giving up your privacy rights to anything else on the phone? I certainly don't think so. First of all, you have to be, if you're under arrest, is the only way that there could even be an issue about an officer's ability to search your phone without a warrant. And just handing an officer an unlocked phone to show a particular item on there, I don't think is communicating consent to search the phone. But again, you might want to say when you're handing the phone over, hey, I don't consent to you searching the whole phone.
I also might mention that the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU have pages called Know Your Rights, where you can print a PDF about what the police can and cannot do, I presume updated thanks to this most recent decision, and also a PDF of tips when confronted by the police. The thing I want to emphasize, this is not designed to, somehow get gang members off, because the police do have the ability to ask for a warrant, to put the thing in a Faraday box. There's a lot, if there really is a crime, the police can pursue it. This is to protect our privacy against an overreaching police state. And this is good. Tips for talking to the police. I hope it's... there's a great, long YouTube video by You Should Never, Ever Talk to the Police. That I recommend. I refer you to without recommending it. I refer you to if you want to know more. I certainly made sure my kids knew it. So good news. Privacy rights are protected. What do you think in the light of these two decisions? A lot of people were mocking the Supreme Court in the Aereo case, saying, "Oh, they're clearly technologically out of touch." I actually thought in the oral arguments, most of them, not all of them, but most of them were pretty in touch. Sotomayor showed a real understanding of how this stuff works. I think she knew about Roku boxes and Netflix. So I think that in this privacy thing, they seem very much in touch with what a cell phone is and why it's important to protect. They seem like they are in touch. Yes, Denise?
Yeah, I think they're more in touch than people give them credit for. I do think, you're talking about people in an older demographic who are still, incorporating these tools in their own life and trying to grasp how they work and what they mean and doing their best with it. And they have really smart clerks, as you pointed out, Leo. So I think they do a pretty darn good job. The copy shop with the library card, is something a cable company when it's clearly not. They've got some hurdles to overcome still, and it would be wonderful if we could get someone, truly versed in what technology means and how it works and the legal considerations around it on the court. I think we're still waiting for that one.
A perfect guy to have on during Heartbleed week. Bruce Schneier is here. Hi, Bruce.
Hey, hi.
Great to have you. So at the beginning of the week, you said on a scale of 1 to 10, Heartbleed is an 11. A very serious flaw. It's funny. We thought this would be the week we'd be talking about XP exploits. No.
Well, it turns out you never know, right? These things happen kind of at random. Heartbleed, it was real interesting because for a whole lot of reasons. One, it was potentially catastrophic. It affected an enormous number of servers out there, and you can weaponize it with like 3 lines of shell scripts. I had colleagues who were up and running and scanning and attacking systems within 10 minutes of learning about it.
Wow.
So it was a big deal. It still is a big deal.
You were able to send a packet using this heartbeat technique built into OpenSSL a couple of years ago. You're able to send a malformed packet that requests data up to 64K from memory of the server, right? It's but it has you can't be specific. It's whatever's there.
Yeah, it has to do with how the heap's working, and it's kind of random what you get, but you can query that 64K multiple times, and you get different data. You don't always get the same. So if you're looking to get everything on the computer, you just do it again and again. Turns out you actually can't get everything. There are some weird reasons why some data comes and some data doesn't. We're still exploring that. But potentially, when we heard about this, you could basically grab everything, and it left no trace. I mean, there was nothing in an audit log that said that you were attacked, which made it really scary, and we had to fix it quick.
Yeah, the fact that this has been around for 2 years, it's conceivable that somebody knew about it 2 years ago and has been just pinging servers. How rapidly can you do this? I guess every second or faster.
Right, you can do it as fast as you can. And it turns out you can ping the entire internet and see who's vulnerable in about 15, 20 minutes, depending on your setup.
Wow.
So a bunch of researchers have been doing that, and so we can watch the decay of sites that are vulnerable. We do know that, we have good evidence that before the announcement, nobody was doing a sweep of the internet looking to see who's vulnerable. So we have data from servers, from honeypots that we've been able to comb through and have seen no one use Heartbleed at a global basis before that. We have no idea if they were targeted attacks.
But that's very good news. That means it seems unlikely that this is a vulnerability known in the hacker community. They'd be scanning sites looking for vulnerabilities. A targeted attack, well, at least it's unlikely that you and I were a target.
Indeed, right? The good news is the hacker community did not know about this, it seems. We started seeing scans within minutes of the announcement, but before that we saw nothing. So that's the good news. The other good news is that subsequent research over the week has shown that while it's possible in theory and has been done in practice to retrieve the private SSL key, the master keys we're worried about, it's actually a lot harder than we originally thought.
That's very
another
good
piece of good news.
Because the concern was that all of these secure servers' certificates have been compromised, allowing massive man-in-the-middle attacks. That you're saying that seems unlikely.
That seems unlikely. It's certainly possible. Cloudflare is the company that's been leading this research. They've put up challenges. One of the challenges was met, so someone did manage to extract the keys, but it's not easy. It's not a slam dunk.
So for the most part, what do you get? Passwords, logins? What are you getting in these 64K chunks?
You get the random cruft of what the server is doing. So yes, you get password changes, you get web pages served. If there are credentials in the URLs, you get those. You get random stuff. You get a lot of nothing, but occasionally you get something good. And what we're seeing, and this is the obvious tactic from a criminal who'd be using this, is you just scan everything constantly, hoping you get lucky. Now, there's some good news on our side. Some of this stuff is hard to parse. So, it's sort of interesting to watch, and we don't know really what the effects are in terms of enabling crime. And of course, it's now being patched. Now, a lot of the sites are no longer vulnerable. Now, vulnerable to the ping. There are any number of universities who are basically auditing the net every hour and watching as sites patch their OpenSSL. Now, that doesn't mean if they were compromised before the patch, they're not still vulnerable. They had to change their key and their certificate. There's no way to check that.
Right.
No easy way to check that.
Right. So the initial estimate was about 2/3 of the web would be, or of servers would be vulnerable to this. Is that accurate? And what is the number now?
That is accurate. The number is probably 10% that, and it's skewed because all of the big, popular, well-run servers have updated.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that's left. I mean, I see a top 1,000 sites that are vulnerable list that some university publishes, and the sites are getting more obscure every hour that are still vulnerable.
Are there any big companies, though, that should have fixed it that haven't?
I didn't see any, but I'm not going to guarantee there aren't.
It's an easy fix.
Like all of these patches, it's an easy fix. You install the patch. But closing the vulnerability is a multi-step process. I mean, this is one of the reasons it was so nasty, is that installing the patch is just step one. Regenerating your public-private keys are step two. Revoking your old key is step three. Getting a new key is step four. I guess you can switch 3 and 4. Right. And then every user on that site who could have had their credentials exposed needs to update their password, which is steps 5 through 1 million.
Right.
And all of those things have to happen in sequence. I updated my own website and I had to go through all those steps, but, for me, it was pretty easy. If you're a banking site, at a minimum, any customer who logged on between when the vulnerability became public and when the site was patched needs to update their password.
Right. The good news is...
it might be nothing, but that's just prudent.
It's prudent. And the good news is it's not a bad thing to do once in a while anyway. So
yeah, it isn't. But, God, we all have passwords that we rarely use and we remember. We don't like doing this. But, I think it's safe that if you didn't log into the server between when the vulnerability was announced on Monday and when your server patched a few days later, you're okay. So those obscure sites you haven't been to in a week or two, I think you're fine at this point.
And second-factor authentication hasn't been compromised. Is that right?
No, I mean, what's been compromised is the public key, potentially, although it seems unlikely, and stuff that happened to happen on the server when someone did the ping. So if you got unlucky and your data was in the heap at the time the bad guys did the scan, it was compromised potentially.
It's pretty random, though, and it seems like unlikely that there have been mass compromises as a result.
It's extraordinarily random. Yeah. Mass is definitely unlikely.
Yeah.
And it'll be individual. I haven't seen yet anybody with any estimates on what sorts of crime has been a result of this. We know the hacker started pinging this vulnerability as soon as it was public. So they didn't waste any time. And it was actually trivially easy.
Yeah.
What's interesting, some of these other vulnerabilities, they're now get a computer to run arbitrary code. This one you can't.
Right.
But this one you could really weaponize within a couple of minutes of learning about it. It's just so easy.
Bloomberg said that 2 sources told them this was an NSA bug, or that the NSA knew about it and had been using it for 2 years. Given its utility, that seems highly unlikely.
So we're all debating this right now, right? There was a Bloomberg article that said 2 anonymous sources said the NSA knew this for 2 years. NSA came out with, actually the Director of National Intelligence on his blog came out with a very strong denial. This is untrue. Answer is we don't know. It seems unlikely. This vulnerability is so big and so nasty. And the United States and other democratic countries, I think, are so vulnerable that it would make a lot of sense to the NSA, if they found this, to alert the community and get this closed. I mean, it's a bigger risk to us than it is value. Certainly, the NSA probably got an advance notice of a week or so, like some of the big companies. I mean, I hope they took it and ran with it and attacked everybody they could during that week. They'd be dumb not to, right?
Might as well. So, who knows what you're going to get?
But that's what you do, right?
But they're good at phishing expeditions.
Get advance notice of Microsoft bugs that are being fixed the next patch Tuesday, right? And they just run with them for the week or two they have. That makes perfect sense. We want them to do that.
I'm curious. I saw Google said that one version of Android was vulnerable, 4.1.1. How could Android be vulnerable at all to this? It's not a server.
Well, anybody that's using OpenSSL and responding to pings is vulnerable. What I'm worried most about right now are some of the hardware devices, the low-cost, unpatchable routers and switches and modems, where upgrading involves the trash can, a credit card, or a trip to Best Buy.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to be fun.
These things are laden with problems. We've seen so many problems on these inexpensive routers. So,
well, I mean, it's because the economics is different.
Right.
I mean, essentially, they're like the computers were in the mid-'90s, but they're very low cost, very low engineering expertise. They're not built with the same care. Then they're not as robust. So they're built as throwaway devices, yet they have these enormous vulnerabilities. And in the mid-'90s, we got a whole community to embrace quick patching and open vulnerability disclosure and all of these things that made us safer. It's really hard to imagine the same systems working on your refrigerator just because nobody cares very much.
Bruce, do you think this, as some have said, is an indictment of open source software, that people can commit? The guy who did this is a German software developer who, I mean, we know who it is because there's a commit log.
Right, and he's been interviewed, and he's I'm sure really embarrassed about this. It's not an indictment of open source software. It's an indictment of software that isn't independently analyzed. Right? This could have easily happened in closed source, in proprietary software. Could easily have been thrown out there. The problem was nobody was doing the analysis. Right? And any software, open or closed, needs to be analyzed. Open software is more secure because it can be looked at by more people, because it's harder to slip in something like this unnoticed. But open source doesn't magically mean someone's going to look at it.
Right.
Right. And this seemed to have fallen through the cracks. It was an incredibly pivotal, important, critical piece of code that's just being maintained by a few guys in their spare time. Now, good for them, and I'm glad they're doing it, but they could use some backup.
Yeah. I feel bad for Robin Segelman, who's the German who introduced the flaw, and he just said, I forgot to validate a variable containing a length. It's just, I missed it. And that happens all the time in software.
It happens all the time. Now, something interesting to ask, I mean, if we're going to speculate about the NSA, I mean, they spend millions of dollars searching for vulnerabilities every year in critical software. If they didn't find this one, maybe we should wonder how well our money's being spent.
Yeah, this is like, you can't get more critical than the OpenSSL library used by 2/3 of all the servers.
You'd think somebody in the NSA would have looked at it and would have checked for all of these sorts of bounds checking problems and would have noticed this. The fact that they didn't, or at least claim they didn't, is independently interesting.
Now, we've heard President Obama, it turns out President Obama has said, well, the NSA will not have, if they find a flaw in software like this, and there's a compelling security argument, national security argument, for not exposing that flaw, then they can do that. In general, they will, but they do have an out.
Well, and this is all the weasel wording.
Yep.
As long as the NSA's mission is primarily to eavesdrop on the entire planet, there will be a compelling reason to keep these vulnerabilities secret.
A Japanese company, Obayashi, is going to build a space elevator. Should be up and running by 2050.
Yeah, sure.
My mind will be in a jar by then.
Yeah, probably.
But
Before then.
but you could put that jar in an elevator and send it into
Send it to the
space.
moon. Send it to the moon.
A lot of science fiction has posited that instead of this the whole problem with space travel is the Earth's gravity. Well, it's very expensive
you used
to
the
get out
word
of the.
posited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an incorrect?
Why don't you
usage
say
of that word?
posed or something?
Posited.
Posited.
Isn't that correct?
It sounds like leaving a dog
not deposit
crap somewhere.
That's posit. I posit.
Well, I'm just saying. I just
I
pointed
don't know.
this out
I'm
because
sitting here with 3 writers. I'm not a
do
writer.
you ever use posited when you write? Never. Never.
Rarely,
be honest about
extremely
it.
rarely.
I'm just trying. I'm all for you, Leo.
It is a verb.
I'm trying to help.
Put forward as basis of
Assume
argument.
as fact. Put forward as a basis of argument.
Yeah.
It's like postulate, advance, propound, submit, hypothesize, propose, or assert. Which would you prefer of those? Here, let's play the audio.
I don't know.
Posit.
Posited. Posited. It just sounds like deposited.
Pause it. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, pause it. As I'm pausing.
Xbox
I'm sorry. Now I'll get blamed for taking the show off the track, just by bringing this
All I
up.
remember is I was talking about a space elevator.
I think space elevators are bogus.
This is the idea: is that the physics totally
I'm
work
with you,
if you can
John.
make a material strong enough to run that cable. And
it has to be
even
all
this story, it's like with
nano.
fusion, right?
Yeah.
It's always 30 years away, and that's actually what they say in this story is we think we can get the nanotube strong enough to do this by about 2030. So so really, it's just coming in 15 years. They'll be able
According
to
to
build it.
Mr. Ishikawa, all you have to do is get something 100 times stronger than a steel cable.
Yeah. No, it's the physics work.
No problem.
The physics work. You drop a cable from space and tie it on, at the equator somewhere, and it's way
What,
cheaper than
you sit
firing
in a
off.
bucket and then
it is true.
raise it up.
Well, there's a
Yeah. You get in a bucket.
Well, you
down on Earth.
It's counterweighted.
It's like something flying
There's
around.
2 buckets. There's 2 buckets.
A couple of
96,000
buckets.
kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for the next 5 weeks, you're being towed up.
Oh
the
yeah, how
bucket.
fast is it?
Well, it's not going to be
Robotic
very fast.
cars powered by magnetic linear motors
Yeah.
will carry people and cargo to a newly built space station at a fraction of the cost of rockets. It will take 7 days to get there.
No problem. Where do you
Expensive
pee?
to build, but super cheap once you build it.
Just in space, I guess.
They can do
Nobody
it.
cares.
Right now, we can make cables that strong, but we can only make them 3 centimeters long.
Yeah, they need to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, if you can do it for 3, it's just a matter of time.
This is one of those things.
A little tiny space elevator.
This is one of those things
You
that
could
it's
do
like
it.
if they figure out a way to make this stuff,
It's a
then
model.
it could totally change the technology of the 21st century. But it's probably more likely than not that they can't. But if they could, wow, that would be kind of awesome.
It cost a space shuttle $22,000 per kilogram because the rocket fuel is so expensive to take cargo in space. For the space elevator, a couple $100.
Yeah. That's the payoff.
Nothing.
Of building the space
Just shoot
elevator.
up in it.
Nothing.
And why just have one?
We should have them all over
have
the
them all
earth.
over.
Yeah, everywhere you can go. So you take a quick
And
ride.
where do
Can
they
you imagine
go?
the disaster movies? Because then they'll like crash the space elevator and the cable smash.
And the thing
and
comes
it's like super
falling
awesome
down into San
explosions and
Francisco,
stuff.
takes
yeah.
out the Golden Gate Bridge.
Well,
It's very
always does.
common.
And 'cause what's-
We already got
space
the
disaster
CG
movie,
for that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's already
Once
ready
you're
to go.
up there, then it's cheap to go like fly around.
Well, yeah, because you're in space then. So
There's no
it's-
gravity well. You just, you could take a can of Pam or like.
Yeah, Pam. That's what we need in space.
go.
It's good for the environment to spray Pam in
And
the
when your
atmosphere.
brain's in the jar, it'll be a lot less weight for that.
I like Pam.
The Pam
Big
rocket.
giant Pam. Yes, exactly.
I'm going to the moon.
if
See you later.
If you have a match in the Pam, then you get a little thrust off of that.
That's
thing.
good physics.
No, for that, you want to use Final Net hairspray.
That would work.
Very good.
I don't know if we'll ever see a space elevator, but it's a pretty cool idea. One thing, you cannot talk about the year 2014 without talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I don't know how effective it was for ALS. I think it raised a lot of awareness, and it certainly raised millions, tens of millions of dollars for the charity. We talked a little bit about it, and watch closely because there might be a little bit of a surprise at the end. This is our take on the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Did you do the ALS? You should do this.
I'm not doing any of these things. It's dumb.
Okay, I told the world I will do it if John tells me to do it. This is the Ice Bucket Challenge. Everybody's doing it. Bill Gates has done it. Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook did it.
Yep.
Jeff Bezos did it at an all-hands meeting. So did Tim Cook, for that matter.
Let's all do it because they did it.
Did you see Bill Gates?
Peer pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Ice Bucket Challenge.
Bill's going to catch a cold.
He takes it fairly seriously.
Yeah.
Well, he may not, because if you watch the video, you be the judge of this. It doesn't look like there's actually any ice in Bill's bucket, which is that's not a euphemism. That's actually, So here he is. Bill's getting the challenge from Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, wow.
So this is how it works. It's to raise awareness and money for ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease.
Right.
And you dump a bucket. It's kind of dumb. A bucket of ice water on yourself.
Yeah, that's to me. It indicates Lou Gehrig's disease to dump a bucket of water, ice water.
It doesn't seem like it's related in any way. Of course, then you challenge 3 other people. Zuckerberg challenged Bill, and of course, Bill's taking this seriously as an engineering problem. So he pretends to weld stuff.
He's got better things to do with his time, it seems to me.
I think he's give him $100 million and leave the welding to someone else.
Doesn't make sense.
But watch carefully. He's about to do it.
This is a publicity stunt for him.
Well, this is what bothers me.
This whole thing's a publicity
I'll do
stunt.
it in private. How about that?
I'm going to challenge 3 more people.
I won't make a video.
Why bother doing it at all?
Ryan Seacrest and Chris
There's plenty of
Anderson TED.
charities out there. You can give to
Consider
ones you
yourself
want to give to.
Yeah, it feels like blackmail.
You shouldn't be shamed into giving to any one of them.
Good luck.
And watch. There's no ice. I think it's warm water.
Yeah, where's the ice?
There's no ice. I think they said, Bill, if you do that with ice, you're going to have a stroke.
It's a nice bucket full of water. Yep.
Yeah.
Good times.
It looks just like the wet dog he is.
That's the first bath Bill's had in years.
I didn't say that.
Ouch.
Ooh. I hear that.
I got one of the guys in the room here. He's allowed to have fun, Dvorak. Yeah, that looks like fun.
I think Elon Musk did a equivalently
put Jell-O in the bucket.
Complicated.
That'd be funny.
Apparently involving, I don't know, multiple. And his 5 kids.
They each had their own buckets.
They each had their own bucket.
They should have thrown a bucket at him.
Yeah.
I think that'd be more entertaining.
He's looking more like Tony Stark all the time, isn't he?
He thinks he's Tony Stark.
I think
he was modeled after. Tony Stark was supposedly modeled after him.
The one in the movie.
Yeah, the one in the movie.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so you say it's okay if I don't do that. I can give to whatever.
What are you
charity
asking
I
me
want
for?
Private.
If you don't do it, you just
permission.
give $100 to ALS.
Even that's kind of blackmail, though, right? Yeah. You did that. You gave $100.
So I was skeptical about it. My friend Lex Friedman did a bucket challenge, and when I analyzed the video frame by frame, and believe me, I analyzed it frame by frame.
Where is this?
It appears. I wish I had the link to it. It appears that the ice completely missed him, and he remained completely dry. And so I basically made him do it again. When he did it again, I wrote a check.
Talk about
that's a good
extortion.
Friend. Yeah.
Holy cow!
Well, I made him get wet.
Did you see Weird Al's? The funny thing about Weird Al is he doesn't mention ALS. He doesn't.
It's another chat room a-hole. What if your son had ALS, Leo?
I know. I actually have a very close friend who died of ALS.
There you go.
I am not against ALS, and
why would you be? It's a horrible product.
Put Lex in the chat room.
Well, disease. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a terrible disease, and I'm not I'm not in any way saying anything negative about that or the ALS Foundation, which is a good group or association. So here's Weird Al. And by the way, I don't know if the ALS Association did this, or I think it was kind of done by somebody independently.
They've picked it up now.
But they have certainly picked it up, and it's been good. They've raised more than $10 million.
I think it's a very good
Here's Weird
promotion.
Al. Somewhere like Hawaii, I think.
What a perfect day. The only thing that would make this better is if I had a big bucket of ice water dumped on my head right now.
He actually has ice in his.
Yeah.
Awesome! Okay, I'm calling out Barack Obama, the Dalai Lama, and the Pope. Your move, guys!
That's pretty good.
Okay, he doesn't mention any charity at all.
No, but the Dalai
it's a
Lama
parody of the thing.
Yeah, Dalai Lama. Yeah, that'd be one. I'd watch that.
Who am I going to challenge after this? All right, I know who I'm going to challenge.
We go. Wait, let's just
scoot back just a little bit. Just a little. Let's not just... Okay.
No. Head straight up.
All right.
Oh God, it is a little chilly. Okay, now I challenge John C. Dvorak Adam Curry and Jason Calacanis. Go out and dunk yourselves. Thank you, everybody. Another twit is in the can. It is brisk.
I like to go to Amazon when I buy something and actually shop a little bit. You know, look at the alternative possibilities, look at the reviews.
You know what?
I always read the
reviews are
one-star
good.
reviews and see if the guy just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, there's an interesting story about that.
Okay.
There is a guy who wrote a negative review of a router. Actually, this is kind of to me, this raises some interesting issues. The router is from a company called MediaLink. MediaBridge Products took umbrage at the negative review.
They do that.
Threatened to sue the guy for libel.
Yeah,
got him to change the review. Then Amazon weighed in and said, we are not selling MediaBridge products anymore.
Good for them. I hate these companies that do that. It used to be, that's very common. You run into some litigious company and they're so thin-skinned, they expect some joker write some negative review in a online forum like the Amazon reviews, and they get so thin-skinned they sue you. This is not a company that you want to do business with.
Well,
it's not killing them. I don't know that negative reviews have that much impact.
But here's the thing. Now I'm going to add the other side of this story.
Uh-oh.
What the MediaBridge company said is the review is libelous because he refers to two facts that are not true. One, he asserts that we are posting reviews, fallacious reviews of our own.
Which most companies do.
And two, that the MediaBridge router is a rebranded router from another company.
Which most routers are.
The MediaBridge folks said those are both demonstrably not true.
So they actually hand make this thing themselves, not OEM'd at all?
They are, well, I don't know, but they are libelous.
Okay.
So they actually have a case for libel. And this is one thing that I thought was kind of interesting. If you're a reviewer, you might actually be libeling a company if you say something that is demonstrably untrue in the review.
I've always believed that, too.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, lawyers, when queried by Ars Technica about this, said, you know what, they actually have a case.
I'm surprised that more people don't get sued. Yelpers, for example, they come and they smear some operation because they didn't like the...
Let's give a little, we're sitting here with the director of the Cronkite School of Journalism.
No, I'm not the director.
The guy
You're
who
the
runs
director
the whole
for
place.
The purposes of the show.
Inventor of journalism.
You're not the director, but
the man who invented journalism.
Yes.
No. Dan Gilmore, who is the director of the Knight Center for Digital Media Entrepreneurship at the Cronkite School. Tell me what libel is, because you must have been, at some point, somebody at J School or somewhere told you, here's what you can and cannot do.
Well, there's a lot of nuances in libel. Basically, if you say something or publish something that is defamatory, that injures the reputation of someone else, and it's false, that can be
That's
libel.
the key, the false part. Because it has to be demonstrable. It has to be a fact.
There's malicious as part of this problem.
There's also intent.
You can be accidentally wrong.
Right. But if I call you a schmuck, you can't sue me because that is
Well, it's like douchebag. They use the word douchebag.
That's an opinion.
Yeah.
But if I say, John, you're a pederast.
Or a crook is the better way.
If I said you're a crook, that's actually a good one.
I could sue you.
Because that sounds like,
I always tell journalists, do not use the word crook because you're asking for trouble.
That's literally libelous or slanderous, depending on the...
Or criminal. He's always a criminal. Is he a criminal, really?
And you know how I found this out? I was talking, I think it was about patent trolls on Tech TV, and I called the guy an extortionist.
That's...
and the lawyers, the NBC, or whoever the lawyers were...
Yeah, you can't do that.
They said, that's libelous, you take it back.
Yeah,
you could call him a virtual extortionist if you had some example.
I could say it's extortion-like.
There's a lot of things you could say.
I could say it's tantamount to extortion, but I can't say extortion.
Right.
I remember Penn and Teller saying, fraud is bad. You should never say that, because then you have to prove it.
Yep.
But, douchebag or bullshit, those are fine.
Yep.
Those are just value judgments.
Yeah, and douchebag is a real funny one because if you actually sued over that, it'd be a great court case. Can you imagine?
I am not a douchebag. This is a douchebag. Here I am. Do I even look like a douchebag? I ask you. Well, you look a little like one, but I'm not one. No, you're not one, sir. You win.
Sometimes TWiT can be quite shocking, as in this segment with Becky Worley. She's always wanted to do this to me. And the Pavlok.
Give me your wrist.
Uh-oh. Are you going to electrocute me?
I am. I brought this for you.
So we talked about this on the show. Becky Worley does these reviews for Good Morning America, and this was what, smartwatches?
Yeah, and this one I did a little bit on GMA and then a little bit on Yahoo. So let's imagine that you have a Fitbit
really
or
nervous.
a this is the
So this is
Pavlok
the
that's on
Pavlok.
Pavlok.
It's a
is
fitness
only-
band.
It could be a fitness band, but it's a motivational tool.
Yeah.
So let's just work with it in the fitness band. Let's say that you've told your Fitbit or your whatever that you want to do 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
By 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't do it by 4:30, it does this. Nothing?
What? Nothing.
Oh, I got to do it faster.
Just
Hold
cry in pain. And there you go. There you go.
When my mom gave me my
That hurt, right?
That's terrible.
It hurts, right?
That is terrible. You shocked me.
It's
not. It's like a bad static shock. You know when you touch your dog's nose after you walk on the carpet. It's on that order.
220.
It's
It's
220, but it's brief.
Yeah, but it's not.
And you were brave to have done that. I didn't know what I was getting into, so I
That's
don't
how
get
much
any,
I love you. That
I
I
don't
can
get any
just-
credit for being brave, but that hurt.
Yeah, I know.
It
You
wasn't
do it
like
to
a
Jason.
taser. It didn't
Come on,
hurt
this
like
is
a
good-
taser.
This is good
You want to try it?
podcasting.
No.
It's not that
way.
bad.
No.
Needles, come here,
freaking
Needles.
way.
So, by the way, I love it that Becky does this, and you're right. It was Yahoo, not GMA, that we actually reviewed this.
It hurts.
But you're a tough person. You don't you know you're a mom. You're a rugby player. How many knee operations have you had?
I've had 6 knee surgeries, 15 broken bones, and I gave birth to twins, and it hurt.
And this little watch. Do you want to try it, Jeff?
Come on.
Come on. Come
I
in,
mean,
Jeff.
It's surprising.
Jeff will try. We love Jeff. He'll try anything.
And I want to say,
It's like a Spinal Tap drummer.
here,
You
come
got
on
another
over here
one
and
waiting.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
You can do this. It's not only a negative reinforcement. There's also it's actually
Now,
a
Jeff
real-
works for me, so I'm going to make you do it.
Okay, come here.
Because I don't want to
this
get
be a-
sued for some sort of
Are you
harassment.
nervous? Sure. You're a little nervous? Okay, so let's get this a good contact point.
Yeah, make sure it's tight on
That's
his
right.
wrist.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
Yeah, I felt
You sure? See, I'm like the sadist.
It made me jump.
Yeah. See,
Didn't feel it that time.
Why?
You didn't feel it,
I
huh?
felt it the first time.
You felt
You
it the
didn't
first
jump.
time. You didn't make it tight.
Make it tighter.
You didn't make it tighter.
Make it
Okay.
tighter.
I'm so mean.
You don't want to try this?
You're
But
good.
see, you know what? That would motivate
didn't
me.
do anything.
It didn't
That
feel,
would
maybe
motivate
it's out of
me.
juice.
I would definitely get those 10.
Oh, okay. Did it make your
you can
hand
feel
go
it,
a little bit of a contraction? I won't do it to you anymore.
It's fine.
No, don't-
I can't abuse a man in
You're
a sweet
brave. That's
sweater
good,
like
Jeff.
this.
Yeah, that's
Is
his
that the
Eagle. He's an Eagles fan.
Christmas? Okay, all right. Yeah, going with that.
Very
I like
Christmassy,
it.
isn't it?
I've just shocked a person in a Christmas sweater. I feel evil. I'm so mean. Harry,
Is
you
this
notice
Philadelphia
anything coming
Eagles?
out?
I know. I'm wearing
Sweater.
my Pebbles, so I don't have a free rush for it.
See? Oh,
unfortunately.
yes. It's so
I
unfortunate.
love the name Pavlok because it's like Pavlov's dog.
Right.
And it's a personal coaster on your wrist. I think, is it safe?
Is it safe? Yes, it's very, very safe.
It's safe,
Is
right?
it safe?
Is
It's
it-
safe.
Is
It's
it as a
safe.
fitness band?
This is not available for purchase. He's still well in
But you would
development.
tie it to a smart app.
So the app, you can do multiple things. So you can use a friend. Sort of. Have you used Pact at all?
No.
Where it has a monetary, a social, and a
I think I need something that has
a
punishment.
punitive aspect.
Yeah,
so the
I need
monetary
punishment.
one is, and this
Yeah.
is how Pact works. You say you're going to go to the gym or do 10,000 steps, and you put $5 in.
Yeah.
It debits it from
No.
your PayPal.
$5,
and if you
no big deal.
if you don't do it,
Shock
it takes
me.
it.
Big deal.
You can. Well, see.
Shock me would do
Where
it.
does the $5 go?
It goes to the rest of the pool of people who are using it who do use it. That's how Pact
so if
works.
you do it, you get paid?
If you do it, you get, this is Pact. If you do it, you get paid. If you don't do it, you lose the money.
Oh,
So that's one way of motivating
I might
you.
do that. What is it? PACT?
PICT. And then, so this has a little bit of that
Wow.
built into it. And then it also has you have to check in with a friend who then checks you in. So you have to call a friend and say, I didn't go to the gym. And then you two have a deal going. So you have to be accountable to another
Can your
human.
friend have control of the electric shock?
And then the electric shock is the third method that it uses.
But could I give Lisa, which she really wants this, by the way, could I give her the electric shock?
See, that's funny because that's not how I would have seen your relationship going.
Oh, how little you know.
Do you know when it's going to shock you, or is it at some random point in time so you can't just take it off?
When I beta tested it, it's not built that way yet. It's still like
This sounds like it's very early.
Yeah, it's very early.
Now,
It's a
Pact is
Kickstarter.
real. Pact is now.
Pact is real. I met a woman who lost 85 pounds.
I want to
using
do this.
Pact.
Gym-Pact, PACT.com.
Yeah.
And you put it on your phone, Android or iOS, and then it takes your money or gives you money.
Yep.
I think this would be good for me.
And I don't know if they have this, but there are other sites where they'll donate it to
Isn't this
causes you hate.
pathetic? Oh, really?
Yeah. So not only will they take your money, but they'll donate it to like.
It's going to send money to the Koch brothers or something.
Yeah.
Then Lisa would press that button all the time. So, wow.
I think it's just interesting, HCI and kind of bringing in levels of.
I think it's how messed up we've become that we just can't bring ourselves to do anything. So now we need some outside electric shock.
Well, okay, get this. So the guy who made the Pavlok, the way this started was he had some big thing that he had to get done, and he was so procrastinating on it that
I'm
he
terrible with
put on Craigslist. He hired someone to come slap him.
It worked?
It worked. I don't know if it was
That's a
a
great
gym or
story.
a project or whatever, but he hired someone to come slap him. And so he made him so nervous, the slapping and like the social interaction around the slapping and all that he decided if I could just come up with something that had a negative reinforcement. Some people need negative reinforcement.
You're smart. You made a Vine of this so I can watch it shock you over and over and over.
How much fun to watch a blonde get shocked over
and over.
This could be a great business for Uber to move into, where somebody comes over with an Uber to slap you.
Yeah, forget the fist bump. We're going to shock you. We're going to slug you.
Just a slap car.
Can I get like underwear with that?
Oh, whoa. You're moving into a new, that's a whole nother business.
You got to fill out a captcha for that, Lee.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So leave it to me. Whenever I come on Twitter, I got to do a little Gallagher. I got to bring you some props.
That's good.
You know. It's
you know what? When I first saw this, I kind of laughed, as we all did. Now I want it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you why I know
I don't
this
want that. I'm going to do the Gym-Pact.
Gym-Pact is
I don't
good.
really want to get shocked a lot. I'm afraid it might stop my heart at some point.
Let me tell you this.
Or start your heart.
Either one.
Look at this thing and let me put it back on your arm. How does that make you feel?
Don't do it, Leo. Don't do it. It's a trap.
I'm going to do whatever it takes not to have that thing shock me.
I'm not putting it on there, but just that feeling, that's how I felt, that I knew that it was a positive, that it was going to really work. Because when I thought about the thing on my arm, it made me nervous. And I thought, wow, that's a visceral feeling that goes beyond that sort of, how we put off the things that we really want to do by the more immediate things.
Three-toed sloth in our chat room says, I just like his name. I just want to say that again. Three-toed sloth in our chat room. What did he say? Now I forgot.
Lick a 9-volt battery if you're cheap.
He said, if you're cheap, lick a 9-volt battery. You don't need the watch.
That's good.
It's worse than licking a 9-volt battery.
It is. That just tastes like metal.
It'll give you a little tongue tingle. This ain't no tongue tingle.
No.
This is like the worst static shock you've ever had.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Would you say that?
Well, it also, I was impressed by a Christmas sweater guy because he didn't jerk away because I couldn't help myself.
Probably doesn't have any nerve endings. He's worked for us too long.
Maybe there was a hair barrier.
I think the Philly connection there also.
He's from Philly.
That's right. He's
For him, you got to throw like batteries at him.
He's from
Philly.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, he's
Philly.
fine.
I've always had tinnitus. Tinnitus. So,
does this pronounce everything wrong, Jay?
How do you pronounce it?
Tinnitus?
Tinnitus.
That's correct. Tinnitus is correct?
Yes. And who is pronouncing everything wrong? You or me?
It's commonly pronounced. Okay, Google. Definition of tinnitus.
Tinnitus, ringing or buzzing in the ears.
That's what it says.
All right, well, then it is tinnitus. Tinnitus. Tinnitus actually makes more sense, doesn't it?
Quinoa. Tinnitus. Quinoa. Quinoa.
Horse ebooks.
Horse ebooks? It's like
Ebooks.
voted on what he would say. What?
Please help me escape from this place.
Wait, what is this?
This is how to ask for help in English.
Horse ebooks.
Here's another one.
We turned the TV on in the middle of a gardening special. She hated to watch gardening. She said it brought back unpleasant memories. One channel up was a weightlifting show. That was more her style, but it made me uncomfortable. The next...
What are you watching?
It's the How to Pronounce channel. How about this?
No. No. No.
So now I'm starting to think this whole channel is a front for something.
Milk argument. Milk argument. Milk argument. No.
This is some weird front for something.
Milk argument.
What is a
Who would
milk?
ever
What is a
Google?
milk argument?
But how do you pronounce milk argument?
What the hell is a milk argument?
It's an argument you have over milk.
Oh yeah, let's look up milk argument.
It's very similar to cereal argument.
Guess what the number 1 and number 2 results are?
That video.
Now you know.
So how is it?
How did it get both of those?
Are they uploaded by 2 different people? Milk argument.
No, yeah, it's different locales.
I could do that.
So it's not just Bear Teams Bravo. There's Bear Teams Bravo, but there's this other
Bear
channel.
Teams Alpha?
Argument.
Whoa.
Milk. Argument.
Wait.
Milk. Argument.
Wait, what? Is this the parody channel?
We have discovered something very odd. Very, very odd.
What? Get this girl. What? Nibancho Doncho. Oh Doncho. Nibancho. What?
What if we stumbled upon?
Porn.
I don't know what we.
Porn cat on man. What? Porno.
No, stop.
Porn. Porn cat on man.
I'm subscribing. Oh my god. Wait a minute. Let's see how you say this. This is thank God.
Macklemore. The actor from Home Alone is Macklemore.
Oh my God. How do you say this?
Hanky Mandoodles. What a wangerful phase. Hanky Mandoodles.
Oh my God. Oh. I'm confused. What's happening? Is this real life?
Beepeth. Beepeth.
So, Amazon Echo. They're selling a tube that listens to you at all times.
I didn't get to plug anything when you introduced me.
Would you? Usually we reserve those for later. Would you like
Just a No Agenda show. People should go to it and listen to today's show.
I said the word Adam. That should count.
No, Adam doesn't count.
Okay.
NoAgendaShow.com.
NoAgendaShow.com. That's it. No. Are you planning on walking out? Is that why you wanted your plug?
You want me to
early?
walk out? I
Just
could
drop
do that.
the microphone and go.
I don't have a microphone to drop.
This is the Amazon Echo. First of all, I just want to point out, as a dad, in this promotional video, this dad is so stupid. Throughout.
You'll see.
It's a sitcom dad.
It's a sitcom dad. In fact, I think he is a sitcom actor. Let's watch. He's opening the door.
You'll see.
It's an Amazon box there. He's so excited.
Is it for me?
It's for everyone.
It's
called
for everyone.
Amazon Echo.
How's it going?
I'm just finishing up right now.
Is it on?
Oh, it's always on.
Can it hear me right now?
Nope.
Wait a minute. Let's just mention that it can hear you right now, otherwise it'd be useless.
Right, it's always on.
It's always on, and it's always listening.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
just
so creepy.
Yeah, totally creepy.
It
He's right.
is so creepy.
Who needs it?
Alexa.
Well, what does it do?
Alexa, what do you do?
I can play music, answer questions.
Wait a minute. I'm going to play the alternate version of this.
Oh, good. Already?
Yeah.
May I introduce you to the Bizarro?
When it first arrived from Amazon, I didn't know what it was.
Same dad.
What is it?
You'll see.
Same box.
Is it
And
for me?
It's still always listening.
It's called Amazon Echo.
How's it going?
I'm just finishing up right now.
It's going to be a bad
Is it
word
on?
here. Hold on.
Oh, it's always on.
Can it hear me right now?
Nope.
It only hears you when you use the wake word we chose.
Alexa.
Well, what does it do?
Alexa, what do you do?
I can play music, answer questions, get the news and weather, create to-do lists, and much more.
Awesome.
Wait a minute. This isn't the parody.
Alexa.
Apparently not.
Because actually,
Nice call.
Actually, it's much funnier in the parody, right? I'm thinking. Let me just look up the Amazon. You'll just edit that out, right? The non-funny. Yeah. No. All right. Amazon Echo parody. Thank you.
They really opened themselves up to parody in this one too.
They basically what the parodists did is they didn't modify the video in any way. They merely changed Echo's answer. Yeah, I was just playing the wrong video on
Is it
that.
for me?
It's for everyone. It's called Amazon Echo.
Well, what does it do?
Alexa, what do you do?
I'm a talking cylinder. I exist only for companionship and utility. My existence is utterly meaningless.
Awesome. Alexa, play rock music.
Rock music.
Wait, I want to try. Alexa, what time is it?
It's time for you to calm the F down.
Okay, it uses far-field technology so it can hear you from anywhere in the room.
No, it's not
Echo is
listening.
pretty neat because it knows all sorts of things. All you have to do is ask.
Alexa, how tall is Mount Everest?
Mount Everest is like probably the biggest mountain. I heard a guy died trying to climb it.
Echo's really good at keeping track of things like shopping and to-do lists.
Paper. Alexa, add wrapping paper to the shopping list.
I've added rap albums to your shopping list.
Alexa, how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon?
How is it possible a woman your age doesn't know that? Look it up.
Anyway, watch the parody because it's absolutely hysterical, and it's frankly kind of right on. I mean, this is a product that is kind of naturally parodized. What is Amazon up to with the Echo? This is not so different from what a smartphone does, but in some ways, you said it, Rob, it's more creepy. I don't know why.
7 microphones on the roof of this thing.
I have a theory.
All right.
So it's just going to be listening to everything you say all the time, looking for keywords that it can serve ads around. Yeah,
it says,
that microphone you're using sucks. You get a whole bunch of ads for microphones.
That'd actually be a good use for it.
Well, a lot of people have been complained about the Fire phone sort of railroading people.
I say the same thing with the Fire phone.
Into the sort of the Amazon funnel, right?
I got that phone that you loaned me. It's horrible. And
you can have it, by the way.
Good, thanks. And what's interesting, there's one good feature.
What's that?
This crazy thing where it looks at anything, it scans it.
Firefly.
Goes, yeah, that thing. And it says, oh, we've got that for sale.
Yeah.
And that's all it seems to be about, because that's the best thing on there.
See, that's what the talking tube is for. It's going to infer what you need from your conversations.
says,
and you're going to go to your Amazon
and you'll have an offer.
Shopping cart, and it'll just be full of all the, well, you said you wanted paper towels.
Yeah.
It'll be like, yeah,
well,
I
that
did.
would be good, because Amazon recommendations are notoriously horrific. I mean, they basically recommend something you've already bought almost every time.
Yeah.
Right?
Or something that you decided not to buy already.
Right.
Yeah.
We saw you bought
something just looking
Rob
at the
Reed's
specs
Year
for.
Zero novel. Maybe you'd be interested in Rob Reed's Zero novel,
Yeah,
Year
bought
Zero.
it 18 times. Yeah.
I already bought it. Thank
So
you.
if you see one of these things and you're a novelist, for example, and you see someone in someone's house, mention your book a lot.
Excellent idea.
There you go.
Yeah. Guerrilla
So-
marketing.
Here is an interesting thing. First of all, you have to apply. It's invitation only. That's obviously a marketing
What a
ploy, right?
crap. Yeah, crap.
$199, but if you're an Amazon Prime member, $99. And that kind of confirms what you're thinking, John, that it's aimed at just as the Fire Phone was, the most avid Amazon users, the Prime.
So it's aimed at nobody.
Feature, by the way, that little Fire Phone.
Well, I don't know, Devindra, I don't know about you, but I'm a Prime member. Aren't you a Prime member?
I'm a Prime member and I really like it, but I think the failure of the Fire Phone was creating this thing that basically was just to keep you in the Amazon ecosystem.
Right.
The Firefly feature is really cool, but it's just an easier way for you to buy stuff on Amazon. That's also a feature their mobile apps have, so it's not like unique just to the Fire Phone. I've kind of lost a lot of faith in Amazon's ability to create great consumer electronics because the Fire Phone was a Me Too device that was priced way too high for what it actually is. Their tablets are fine. They're okay, but they're still kind of bland and boring, and they don't have the full Google experience. So they're not as good as other Android tablets. I think the worst case scenario you guys are bringing up here, that's not how it works right now, but it could eventually. And that's terrifying because I've seen a lot of startups that are working on sort of artificial intelligence technology that could do what you're saying, like listen to what you're saying and kind of infer recommendations and things like that.
I want to disagree with one point. I really do like the Kindle. I think it's a fine
the new
device.
Kindle is awesome.
The Kindle's great.
I like the Paperwhite. That's the one I use. I think
yeah,
it's
you would like
fantastic.
this new. It's $200. The new Voyage, which is basically kind of like a Paperwhite with no compromises at all. It's really gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
You can really read fast.
Well, it's got a
Kindle's
faster
like the one great
processor, so the
thing.
page turns are I mean, they've really done a nice job. Well, I bought Jibo, which is still not available and is exactly the same. So I don't know why I'm creeped out by this. Jibo, the whole idea of Jibo, and it's more expensive, is it sits on your counter and it
like a
looks at
toothbrush.
you. No, here's Jibo coming up here, yeah.
Well, isn't this what Microsoft...
Jibo looks at you.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
It looks like the Pixar.
And it blinks.
It looks like the Pixar light.
Can you turn the audio up a little bit on it?
Throughout their day. He's the world's best cameraman. By intelligently tracking the action around him, he can independently take video.
See, I didn't think it was creepy because it didn't come from Amazon or Microsoft.
Right.
It comes from actually Cynthia Brazil, who is a robotics guru.
It'll be sold to one of them.
He's a hands-free helper. You can talk to him, and he'll talk to you back, so you don't have to skip a beat.
Excuse me, Anne?
Yes, Jibo.
Melissa just sent a reminder that she's picking you up in half an hour to go grocery shopping.
Thanks, Jibo.
He's an entertainer and educator.
Anyway, I
And he initializes conversations?
Apparently he initiates
Hey, what are you doing? You look
conversations.
depressed.
Hey, Ann. Do you want to know how many tablespoons in a teaspoon, Ann? Ann, you haven't queried me lately.
It's a needy robot.
Where'd you go? There you are.
How much did this thing cost?
Oh, that's creepy.
The target on the kid's face,
And you get a red dot on your forehead. That's what you don't need.
I don't know what's happened to me, but I didn't think this was creepy when I first saw it. And now I really think this is creepy.
What is the price?
I think it was expensive because it's crowdfunded.
He's a platform, so his skills keep expanding.
They've reached their $100,000 goal in 4 hours, $1 million in 7 days. $600
a piece?
Yeah. So, but
And
you
how
get,
late is it now?
I don't know if it's late yet.
Yeah, it's late.
It doesn't actually exist. Like
No,
most
no.
crowdfunding campaigns.
It'll
And
never come
Amazon's
out.
exists.
Because when you think
Now-
about what it costs to
You're
develop
out
a
$600.
sophisticated electronic
Yeah.
product like that, I mean, it's great that they raised $1 million.
Not
but
even close to what they need.
Man, yeah.
And presumably Amazon's been working on this for a long time because the idea of the voice recognition, I mean, look, we've got Siri, we've got Cortana, we've got Google Now, but those companies all worked on those things for years with a large research team and a lot of, smart people.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? I mean, Amazon all of a sudden has voice recognition? It had no product related at all.
Yeah.
So in that regard, at least, it's impressive. It is plugged in. It's not battery powered. It does the same thing as your phone, though, does, right? It does say connected to the cloud, so it's always getting smarter. That also
That's not good.
Yeah.
It really does play into this paranoia.
It's terrifying. There's a startup I've been tracking called Ubi that's been developing something like this as well. Just like a thing you plug into a wall socket. It's always listening and always serves as a speaker. Just kind of, I could see it being useful eventually, but if we do all have smartphones near us all the time, it is tough to think of something like this. Like, what would you really use it for?
Isn't this something that Microsoft was supposed to be doing with Kinect?
Yeah, it feels a lot like Kinect.
And you're told that Kinect's in the house on all the time, can see what's in the room and figure, this guy looks like he's got volumes 1, 2, and 3 of this book. Let's push volume 4.
Well, but Kinect, I'll vouch for it. When I sit down, it says, "Hi, Leo." When Michael comes in, he says, "Hi, Michael." When his mother comes in, it says, "Hi, Michael." So, well, she looks a little bit like her son, but it does see you. And in fact, it's always looking, obviously, because it wouldn't recognize you the minute you walk into the room. You can talk to it anytime. You say Xbox, watch TV, and it'll turn on the TV and all that.
So what's creepier, Amazon having 7 microphones listening to you 24/7, or Microsoft having a video camera watching
listening and watching?
Listening and
you
watching.
put the two together, you got it made.
Yeah.
I don't know yet anybody who's bought this Amazon Echo, but I can't wait to get my Jibo. All right. I don't know why, but in every one of these shows, we're doing best ofs from the year 2014. This is the best of 2014 for This Week in Tech. The producers keep bringing this up. See, I didn't think all year long, I kept hearing this rumor that Apple was going to buy Beats. That made no sense. And for some reason, obviously they did, and I was wrong, all the producers have stuck in these clips of me saying, it ain't going to happen.
All right, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. Apple buying Beats. This was the story that came out late last week. $3.2 billion. I'm not sure who had the story first. I can't remember. Was it the Financial Times? Was it? Anyway, still no confirmation. I think it's a bogus rumor. I don't believe it.
Really?
Yeah.
What? I thought Dr. Dre confirmed it on...
So Dr. Dre posted something on his Facebook that apparently was a phone call, and he said, "I'm rap's first billionaire," which he would be with a 25% stake in Beats. Added to his existing fortune, he'd be well over $1 billion. Then he pulled it down. Now, I got to tell you, Beats' business is almost entirely driven by marketing.
It's a fad.
The headphones are crap.
Oh, yeah.
The streaming music service has been a flop, despite the fact that AT&T has offered a family plan for it and aggressively marketed it. It is a marketing-driven business. It has been from day one. It's the name of Dr. Dre, the name of Jimmy Iovine, the music industry cachet, the design, the styling, and frankly, the huge advertising budget.
By the way,
they're not good?
No, they're terrible headphones. You don't have any.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to point out something the chat room pointed out. Dr. Dre's not a real doctor. I just want to.
What?
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Another lie.
Yeah.
He's a doctor of musicology. He actually is a very important and successful producer in the music world. He's discovered a great many acts.
Yeah, no, he's famous.
Including Eminem, Mr. Snoop Dogg. You've heard
Mr.
of him?
Snoop Dogg?
Have you heard of him?
Is that spelled D-O-G, D-O-G-G, or D-A-W-G?
D-A-double. Go ahead.
It's Snoop Lion now.
Now it's Lion because he's he's a Lion of Judah.
So you think this is bull crap?
I am the only person in the world apparently who thinks this is bull crap. I cannot think of any reason why Apple should buy this company. Admittedly, they have a cash flow of $1 billion a year, so a $3.2 billion acquisition is not an expensive acquisition.
Well, you have 3x sales is pretty high.
Well, you also got to wonder why they're for sale. And I have a feeling that the streaming music service has been a flop.
Well, and that's the only reason to buy them.
Apple can make these deals. Apple has these deals, and there's no guarantee that Beats deals would survive a sale to Apple. The music industry...
They wouldn't. They likely wouldn't.
Yeah. So what are they buying?
Well, that's an interesting theory.
I think you're probably... if I'm hoping you're right, because if they are buying them, I think it's a bad thing. I think it's a bad sign for Apple.
Well, it's a sign they've lost their way, I think.
Right.
You don't know this.
Well, I like to say it.
Okay. They may have a grand scheme behind it all. They have yet to screw up Major League.
Oh, no. Apple screwed up.
I disagree.
They've screwed up many.
Well, you name one.
Ping.
iCloud.
There's plenty of Apple screw-ups in the world. They have they've yet to create a music service, streaming music service that's any good, that's successful. iTunes Radio does not work.
iTunes makes me want to punch myself in the face.
iTunes is horrible itself.
I agree. It's
Apple,
horrible.
2 words. I know you're going to defend it. Apple Maps. I know you love it.
I didn't say I love it. I don't use an iPhone, but I do know that when I did a showdown with a bunch of people using different map systems, the Apple guy won.
I got lost.
You got lost with Apple Maps?
I was in the showdown. I got lost with Google Maps. You're trying to find a falafel place. I went to the wrong falafel
Yeah, that's
place.
because you were using Google Maps.
Right.
Yeah, the Apple guy was nailed
John's scientific
it worked.
study.
It was a study, and you got lost.
Science.
There you go.
So you're right. Either this is like Apple's like, what the hell? You lost your way, Apple. Tim Cook has clearly got no new ideas. Or it's a false rumor. I prefer to think it's a false rumor.
I have to say, though, maybe this is not a good deal or the right deal, but I cannot for the life of me understand why a company like Apple that is so good at so many things, particularly hardware, that makes people go insane and want to pay vast sums of money for their hardware and computers. Their cloud services are the worst. Like they might as well have been invented by the Soviet Union in the 50s. Like they are so, except they're better looking. But they are so painful to use and so awkward, and they do such incredibly terrible things. It's like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, couldn't they spend some of their $160 million or billion dollars to hire some people who could figure this stuff out? Like, it's just mind-boggling.
We should point out that, Cupertino to journalists is the Kremlin. So,
and you say that as somebody who sits in Red Square all day looking up at the towers of St. Peter's or St. Basil's. So this is the funniest part of this. Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre would apparently become Apple executives.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Dre part-time.
He's got his medical practice.
Well, what?
I'd love to see those meetings.
For about a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, for about a month.
I can't see Johnny Ive looking at Beats and saying, those headphones are the greatest headphones we've never designed. It's not invented here. They're not great nobody who likes audio says they're great headphones. They're highly enhanced bass, which is great for rap, but nobody thinks they're quality headphones.
No.
The kids like them because they got Dr. Dre. It's all about marketing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
$3.2 billion is coincidentally exactly what Google paid for Nest, a thermostat company. So $3.2 billion is the new $1 million.
I guess. It's weird.
The other thing I'd point out is that most of Apple's $160 billion is overseas, is offshore. And to spend it, there would be a significant tax consequence.
They have to deal with that money, and they're using that.
So if Beats were a European company, I'd say, well, that makes sense, that, because they've got all this cash offshore and they can't repatriate. But it's an American company, right?
Well, we don't know.
Where's they carefully put offshore, so they wouldn't have
it could be offshore.
Using the Dutch reach around.
Could be in, that's different. It could be in Bermuda for all we know. I mean, I don't know. We didn't look into that.
Well, let me see.
Because nobody came up with that this is a scam and a lie like you did. This is the first time I've heard this idea.
The Dutch reach around, did you just say?
Yeah, don't.
It's not the name.
Don't ask him for any more details.
All right.
Beats by Dre, formally established in 2008 as the brainchild of legendary artist and producer Dr. Dre and the chairman of Interscope Geffen A&M Records, Jimmy Iovine. Right there.
I think that's offshore. I think Geffen and that whole operation is offshore, and I think that's where they set this up.
It's not offshore.
It's got to be.
It's only
I think
now,
you stumbled onto it. This is exactly what's going on.
You
this
mean
is the way to
right here where it
money.
says Beats Electronics is based in Santa Monica, California?
But it doesn't mean they're incorporated there.
That's true.
Beats is partially owned. There's a stake in Beats from Hewlett-Packard. 25% of Beats is owned by a financial holding firm that,
where are they
that
located?
bought their stake from HTC. Remember, HTC attempted to use the glitter of Beats to sell smartphones.
Poor HTC.
Yeah, that was a mistake. What's really poor HTC? If they just held on to this deal, that quarter would have saved HTC.
Yeah, it would have been $7 because they had tripled.
That $800 million.
Right, the valuation
would have been like,
tripled.
Whoa, that's a good deal. We can run for another 3 years on that.
It's just out of luck.
I don't really understand. Like, if Apple was going to do something like this, why wouldn't they just buy Spotify or somebody like that?
Much better. Yeah, I mean, it beats
streaming.
Service people actually like.
The thing that beats streaming did it. They bought Mog, which was a nice service that was struggling, but they came too late because there's Google Music, there's Spotify, there's Rdio. Everybody's chosen, and I know this because the deal AT&T was offering, $16 for a family, was much better than the Spotify deal or the Google Music deal. So I went to my kids, 18 and 22, and I said, "Hey kids, let's all use Beats."
Okay, Dad.
No.
Oh, no?
They said, "What? No, I like Spotify. No, I like Rdio." No, I mean, we were all using.
Maybe they're too old.
Oh yeah, if there were 4, I could convince them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, apparently, according to one story I read, 200,000 subscribers. It's not a significant number. Not worth billions. I'm going to be the New York Times is confirming this. The Wall Street Journal is confirming this. It came from the Financial Times. I'm going to be the guy that stands up and says, "I call BS."
This would be a good call. Just as a long shot. I think you're doing the right thing.
But no one will remember if you're wrong anyway, so don't worry about it.
That's true.
That's the key.
John understands this whole thing,
I know that
this whole
game.
dynamic. Say something outrageous. If you're right, people will go, "Whoa, he knew it. He was the only one."
It works.
And if you're wrong, it's like, well, just another. I'm the guy, by the way, said 2 weeks ago, short Apple.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good call.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I'm the guy when Apple said, "We're going Intel," said, "What are you, nuts?" So don't listen to me. So Matthew, you agree with me though?
Like
that this is a kind of a bad bellwether for Apple, I think.
I do, because as soon as I heard about it, even though I've never used Beats headphones, I haven't used the service. It made me, it troubled me that they would pay that much for this thing. That says to me, we're out of ideas.
It would be the largest acquisition in Apple's history by several orders.
I remember the good old days when the biggest acquisition Microsoft ever made was the $600 million one of whatever it was called.
Web TV.
Web TV. And they were pushing themselves in, in kind of an awkward position. And then they went up, and now they're just throwing money away.
So I have to correct myself. The Dutch reach around, you're right, is something else. What Apple used is a strategy known as the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich.
That's worse.
That's a thing?
I think
that's a thing.
I think that's just another word for the dirty Sanchez.
We're going down a nasty road here.
I think we just brought Urban Dictionary down. But what you do with a double Irish with a Dutch sandwich is you route profits through Irish and Dutch subsidiaries and then off to the Caribbean, and it's exactly what Apple's been doing for some time now. The problem with doing that is they now have a huge cash stake
overseas,
but they can't use it.
Well, here's a kind of a question. The Supreme Court has been bringing this up, that the corporations are people. And if you're a person, an individual, and you try to move your money and hide it offshore, the IRS goes after you. Why don't they just go after this money?
It's legal. I agree with you, but it is legal. That's basically the story.
So far.
Anyway, I think that's enough on Beats. If the deal goes through, it will go through early next week. Let's make you know what we should do? Let's make a recording of this show.
I think.
And then
aren't you doing that anyway?
I'm one step ahead of you.
I hear that you do that regularly.
I think you're doing that.
And then we can play it back next Sunday. Leo was right. It was a rumor created by Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine in an attempt to sell headphones and stock or whatever, and to gin up some interest in a company that is actually failing. That's what I think.
Now you've gone out. You actually took a good.
I went too far?
Yeah, way too far. You don't want to, when you bring up a crackpot idea like this, you don't want to extrapolate to make it worse.
Just kind of vague outline. Vague outline.
Wrong again, Leo. I'll tell you one thing I know I'm right about, and that's personal capital. We'll have more of the best of This Week in Tech in a moment. It is time to make those New Year's resolutions, mine to eat healthier, get more exercise, and to make my money work harder. Personal capital is exactly designed to do that. With personal capital, you can, and by the way, you should put this on your to-do list for 2015. You can keep track of everything you've got, all the assets, all the investments, where your money's going on charge cards, where your money's going on mortgages, what's in your checking and savings. For the first time, I bet for the first time ever, you will have, maybe since you were 5 years old, you will have an idea of exactly what your net worth is and where your money is. And more importantly, And I hope you're investing for the future. I hope you're planning for retirement. You'll know how your retirement funds are doing. You'll know if you're frittering money away, paying excess fees, or maybe you're invested in the wrong things or you haven't rebalanced lately. Personal Capital can help you. They're already helping more than 600,000 investors just like you manage and grow their wealth, including me, by the way. I love Personal Capital. I've been using it for 2 years now. Personal Capital is a complete, intuitive financial dashboard. All your accounts in one place on one page on your computer, your laptop, your tablet, even your phone, even your Android Wear watch. I get alerts from Personal Capital. You can grow your wealth. You can find and eliminate high mutual fund and 401k fees. You can find other hidden brokerage fees you may not even have known about. They may be costing you years off your retirement. I mean, you worked hard for this money. You socked it away. You did the right thing. Make sure your money is continuing to work as hard as you did. You'll also get tailored advice on optimizing your investment. Don't wait. Take control of your financial future in 2015. Make that your resolution. It's free. Why not? I want you to visit personalcapital.com/twit and sign up today. It's secure. Trust me, it's safe. It's absolutely secure. It's easy to do. And I promise you're going to get real value out of this. Personalcapital.com/twit. We thank them for their support all year long for This Week in Tech. People sometimes say, why is Dvorak on Twit? They also sometimes say, why isn't Dvorak on Twit more? Your reaction to this next clip will tell you which camp you belong in.
I think maybe it's because I'm badly nearsighted. Because when I take off my glasses and I hold the phone like right here, right up to my face, it's like a giant screen TV.
I can't. This thing does nothing.
You don't know how to use Windows Phone.
This is a Windows Phone.
This is the Nokia 1520. It's a 6-inch.
How did you get the thing to come up like that?
You press. There's a button on the side. You press
I've
it.
been pushing buttons.
Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's gorgeous. And that's not even customized. I put Windows Phone 8.1. I do think Windows Phone.
So why does it say me and there's a little picture of you on here and it's flat?
In case I forget. It's a phone for people your age.
Look at this.
Who am I? Oh, I know I am.
I don't think so.
I'm me.
I don't have one of these phones. You do. So let's get that straight. And what's this photos? What is this? It's showing different photos constantly. Why do I want
ask
that?
permission before you do that. Don't do that.
Natalie, you have a
That's
problem
rude.
with selfies and belfies?
What's a
I
belfie?
do not like it when people open. My sister does this to me, just like flips
Starts
through
scrolling through it?
my photos. It's just
She's
not
only got
good
2
gadget
photos
etiquette.
in here. I already
It's
checked.
bad gadget etiquette. My son did that to me. I was visiting my son at school in Colorado, and he started flipping through my pictures. He said, stop.
Well, then don't carry him on a phone. It's kind of nutty.
Well, you can't help it if you take the
Phone is
pictures.
a personal device.
Thank
like you don't
you.
get to just go through my wallet.
So
Why not?
belfies are butt selfies.
Who takes such a thing?
It's the evolution of when we used to do that on a copy machine.
It's disgusting.
And it's huge. I saw
Especially if you got a big butt.
I saw Kelly do it on Live with Regis and Live with Kelly and Michael. She did a belfie.
Did you ever do that on a copy machine? I mean, I didn't.
Did you, Natalie?
Yeah, I've done that before.
You have?
Yes, on a copy machine with my sister. Yeah.
Unfortunately, unlike belfies, there was no Instagram for Xerox copies. What are you doing? You're making noise.
Yeah.
You're hearing
Keep talking. I'll just do the background.
Tim Cook explains, by the way, what.
Go on.
So when I started out doing this in 1991, I did a radio show with John C. Dvorak. And it's a 3-hour radio show. Remember that, Dvorak on computers?
Yeah.
And he'd get bored.
I'm easily bored.
So I gave him a bunch of sound effects.
It was my idea.
You demanded
But
them.
you did dig up all the classics.
Thousands of sound effects. And he would interrupt the show constantly, just like this. So, what does Tim Cook say about iPad sales? He says there are 2 factors behind this. In the same quarter a year prior, Apple had increased. This is, by the way, a bogus explanation. Can you stop?
Don't you think this makes the show better?
This is cheesy music.
Wow, what a year this has been. There was so much news, so much to talk about. That's one of the great things about doing the show This Week in Tech. I sit down with some of the most interesting people like Bruce Schneier, each and every week. John C. Dvorak, Becky Worley, Jason Heiner, some of the brightest minds, and we get to really understand what it means, what these news stories, they're not just news stories for us, they're really a launching point for a great discussion. And I hope you can see from this show how great it's been all year long. I look forward to an amazing 2015, and I hope you'll be along for the ride. We do TWiT every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2300 UTC. You can watch live, and the chat rooms are very much a part of the show, live.twit.tv. But you can also download on-demand versions of all of our shows at twit.tv. And watch after the fact, audio and video, always available just a few hours after the show ends. So TWiT, for an example, you can easily get it in time for your Monday morning commute. That's when a lot of people listen, I know. You can also subscribe. That way you'll get it every week on iTunes, the Xbox Music Store, Stitcher, and the great TWiT apps, which are available on most platforms. Thanks to our third-party developers. We heart you guys. Thanks for working so hard for us. Thanks to all of you for watching. We love doing TWiT. We love doing all of our shows. I have to tell you personally, I feel so fortunate to be able to bring you this each and every week. It's the best job in the world, and I thank you for watching and making it possible. Thanks to all of our sponsors, too. Because of them, we can give this to you absolutely free. So, that's that for this year in TWiT. Don't forget, our big New Year's party starts 3 a.m. New Year's Eve and goes live all the way to 3 a.m. New Year's Day. This time, we're doing it as a benefit for the United Nations Children's Fund. They're doing some great work to fight Ebola in Africa, to help children all over the world, and we want to raise a lot of money. So with your help, we will. Please stop by sometime during the New Year's Eve celebration. Help us count down to 2015 all around the world, all 27 time zones, all 24 hours. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We've got some great stuff, some real surprises planned for you. So please stop by. If I don't see you then, I'll see you next time on This Week in Tech. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for being here. Happy holidays and all the best for 2015. We really appreciate your being here and being part of what we do. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Well, you're going to close the show first?
No, you close it out.
Leo.
Leo has to go pee.
Well, I can. If you put the camera on me, and I can do it. I can say it as well as anybody else.
That is the end. Leo is in the bathroom. We'll see you later. Thank you, John Dvorak.
They thank me, yes.
For bringing the show and making it really happy.
Well, don't forget yourself.
And thanks to myself. Thank you
Let's
very much.
thank each other for a while.
All right.
And then I'll do the. Oh, well, he's
Ben Thompson. Thank you. In Taipei,
Ben, we
Taiwan.
actually got the closeout by Leo, so we can. You want to do it together? You want to do another?
You go. You take it, man. You're here.
Okay.
More than
Well,
me.
this is going to be it. This is another TWiT is in the can.